Good evening, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started if everybody could find a seat. Thank you all for being here this evening. This is a meeting of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners. This is April 21st, 2025. It is 5:02 p.m. If I could have everybody stand for the pledge to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We take this time in the agenda for a brief moment of silence for individual prayer, reflection, or meditation. We take this time to honor and remember our first responders and the men and women in our military who keep us safe and protect our freedoms at home and abroad. All right, thank you. Again, good to see, good crowd. Appreciate you being here this evening. We've got a few notes to take care of before we get started. We have a deletion from the agenda, item 7C, that was removed from the agenda by staff on 4/21/2025. This was a consideration of award and contract to the North Florida Land Trust. That item needed some additional work and will be back at the next meeting in May. Also want to report that we have a groundbreaking Tuesday, April 29th at 10 a.m. That's for the airport terminal building at the Flagler County Executive Airport. Also want to direct everybody to our transparency dashboards on flaglercounty.gov, where you can search a wide range of different topics and construction projects. Our next upcoming commission meetings, we have a joint meeting with the City of Palm Coast on Tuesday, April 29th at 1 o'clock p.m. We have a regular meeting. The next one is Monday, May 5th at 9 o'clock a.m., followed by a workshop Monday, May 5th at 1 o'clock p.m. All right, and with that, we'll go ahead and get started with today's meeting. Again, thank you everybody for showing up this evening. We have a few proclamations and a presentation tonight, so we'll go ahead and start with our proclamations. The first one this evening is Water Conservation Month. That's April 2025. This is requested by William White from the St. Johns River Water Management District, the Government Affairs Coordinator. He's come to the podium. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Hanson will read this proclamation for you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners designating April 2025 as Water Conservation Month in Flagler County. Whereas water is a basic and essential need of every living creature, and water conservation is becoming more critical across our great state. And whereas the state of Florida, St. Johns River Water Management District, and Flagler County are working together to increase awareness about the importance of water conservation. And whereas Flagler County and the state of Florida have designated April, historically a dry month when water demands are most acute, as Water Conservation Month to educate residents about how they can help save Florida's precious water resources. And whereas Flagler County has always encouraged and supported water conservation through various educational programs and special events. And whereas every business, industry, school, and citizen can make a difference when it comes to conserving water. And whereas every business, industry, school, and resident can help by saving water and thus promote a healthy economy and community. And whereas efficient irrigation design, programming, and maintenance can conserve water, will encourage citizens and businesses to evaluate their irrigation systems for potential efficiency enhancements. Now, therefore, the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners do hereby proclaim the month of April 2025 as Water Conservation Month in Flagler County, and calls upon each citizen and business to help protect our precious resource by practicing water-saving measures and becoming more aware of the need to save water. For this, the 27th year of Water Conservation Month, we encourage all citizens to have special focus on irrigation system evaluations. Adopted this 21st day of April 2025, attested to by Tom Bexley, Clerk of the Circuit Court and Comptroller, and signed by our Chairman, Andy Dance.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson. Could you float that motion for me so we can approve that proclamation?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve April 2025 as Water Conservation Month.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Hanson, seconded by Commissioner Pennington. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Again, good evening, sir. Congratulations.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Chair and Council. Very much appreciate you letting me come join this proclamation of declaring that April Water Conservation Month. I'm Bill White from the St. Johns River Water Management District. I've done a lot of these over our 18 counties of the St. Johns River Water Management. And after a while, you start feeling like Chicken Little. The sky's falling, the sky's falling. Every year you come up and say the sky's falling. But after COVID, and we got the mass increase in population, mass increase of building, okay, the sky is starting to get a little bit dark. The aquifer is under a lot of pressure with all this building and all the extra people. So water conservation is one of our top priorities. But it's not like we're sitting around doing nothing. Reclaimed water has drastically increased, which is saving a lot of water. Also, all the developers using water efficient appliances in almost all new builds. That helps out a lot. However, the biggest enemy that we have right now is our yards, is water in our yards, which sounds kind of silly to me. It's like, okay, wait a minute. We use so much water, it's all in the house. No, it's not. It's water in our yards. We use 50 to 60% of our fresh water goes to water in our yards. That's just, when I saw those numbers, I didn't believe it, but it's true. And the other thing too is it's not Public Works that can help us. You know, it's not the council that can help us. It's each one of us that's gonna win this fight. Because I don't know about you, but after a long day's work, the last thing I come home to is I'm like, oh, I wonder what my irrigation setting's at. I wonder what my sprinkler head, if that's working right. No, we live busy lives. We're always moving, we're always thinking, and that's like usually one of the last things that's on what we're thinking about. But that's where we need to educate people. That's where we need to help each other. Everybody's seen the sprinkler head shooting straight up in the air, or the going in the morning and you see that someone's irrigation's water in the street. That's where we can make a difference. Talk to each other. We all live right next to each other. Talk to them. Hey, I saw your sprinkler head. You know, it might need replacing, or let me help you fix your irrigation. Because after we did the time change, we should be only watering twice a week. So if you see somebody watering every day, just let them know, because maybe they didn't know that. All right? Because I think in Flagler, this is where we can win the fight. Neighbors helping neighbors. That's what Flagler's all about. And together we can make a difference and for our future generations. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, sir. And I think a few drought-tolerant plants, smaller areas of sod.
Very much so.
Yes, sir.
We're getting there.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
The district does a great job with getting the news out and spreading the information on how to be more conservative with their water. So come on up and we'll take a picture with you. You can come on up.
Get them chairs out of here.
It's only if it was one man.
I feel special.
Now it's even. All right, everybody ready? Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you
Appreciate
for
it.
Thank you.
everything. Thank you.
Thank you again, Mr. White. The next proclamation will be Celebrate Trails Day, which is April 26, 2025, requested by Amy Lukasik, our Tourism Development Director. And this proclamation with the whole Trails crew coming up from City of Palm Coast too. Commissioner Richardson will read this proclamation.
This proclamation is from the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners designating April 26, 2025 as Celebrate Trails Day in Flagler County. Whereas Celebrate Trails Day is an annual event that takes place on the fourth Saturday of April, organized by Rails to Trails Conservancy, RTC. This initiative aims to inspire individuals throughout the United States to venture outdoors and appreciate their local trails, highlighting the benefits, effects of trail systems on both communities and the environment. And whereas the Rails to Trails Conservancy, recognized as the largest advocacy group in the country for trails, walking and cycling, serves as a national organizer for Celebrate Trails Day. The event begins together with 20,000 participants in more than 240 celebrations across all 50 states of Washington and Washington, D.C. And whereas Celebrate Trails Day presents a chance to highlight the diverse ways in which trails are interconnected networks enhance people's lives. They offer physical and mental health benefits while encouraging community involvement and opportunities for stewardship. And whereas the Flagler County Tourism Development Office has joined forces with the City of Palm Coast to organize events for Celebrate Trails Day. This celebration will be included guided to walks, education sessions on trail conservation efforts, and opportunities to explore the diverse flora and fauna of the area. And whereas the 2025 Flagler County Board of Commissioners strategic plan emphasizes the need for expanding and enhancing opportunities for cultural, leisure, and recreation activities. And whereas the Tourism Development Office of Flagler County seeks to increase exposure to ecotourism, magnets through the expansion, improvement, and programming of natural attract and outdoor activities that showcase the uniquely biodiversity and landscapes of the region. By focusing on sustainable tourism practices, the office aims to highlight the area's rich ecosystems and lush wetlands to pristine beaches, offering visitors an immersive experience in nature. Big words. And whereas the Flagler County boasts over 18 trails that span 250 miles, catering to various forms of non-motorized transportation, including walking, biking, rollerblade, and cycling. Many of the trails are interconnected, allowing for extended adventures on a diverse range of trails within the community. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners that they hereby proclaim April 26, 2025 as Celebrate Trails Day in Flagler County, and urge all citizens to recognize and participate in the significant contributions that tourism brings to Flagler County each year. Adopted this 21st day of April 2025. Attested by Tom Bexley, Clerk of Courts and Comptroller, and Flagler County Board of Commission, Andrew Dance, Chair. I so move.
Is there a second?
Please.
I have a motion by Commissioner Richardson, seconded by Commissioner Carney to approve the proclamation. All those in favor signify with aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none. Congratulations, crew. Good to see you tonight.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. Amy Lukasik, Executive Director of Tourism, and I'm here with Deborah Morgan, who's also from our Tourism Development Office, and our good friends at the City of Palm Coast Parks Department. And I just want to thank Commissioner Dance, because he's the one last year who brought this event to our attention and really spearheaded this initiative, so we're grateful for that. Last week, we were at the City of Palm Coast Council meeting and received a proclamation there as well. So I just wanted to give a brief highlight of our trails, and then I'm going to show a quick video, and Deborah's going to share some of the activities that will be going on this Saturday. But as we all know, our trail system here in our community is an incredibly important asset to both residents and visitors, and most people associate its value in terms of improving our quality of life. But trails also encourage physical activity, which improves our public health. Trails can also serve as transportation corridors connecting neighborhoods, schools, and businesses. This also helps reduce traffic congestion. Our trails help protect green spaces, wildlife habitats, and waterways through conservation-based efforts. We know through recent outdoor studies, through DEP, that trails and outdoor recreation contribute a significant economic impact in communities, including in Flagler County. This Saturday, we will have different activities going on, and our base is at Waterfront Park, which was where it was last year, but we are hopeful that in 2027, we can host it at the new Eco Discovery Center and highlight our trail system there. So we can go ahead and show the video. We've been promoting trails all through the month of April.
If you're up for a ride, Lehigh Trail is one of the area's larger trails, featuring a scenic paved path that's part of the Florida Greenways and Trail system. The trail stretches from Colbert Lane in Palm Coast to US 1 near Bunnell, with an extension that includes a pedestrian bridge over Moody Boulevard. Cruise through tree-lined paths, wetlands, and wildlife habitats along the way. Whether you're walking, running, or biking, this trail is great for every activity level and pace. End your visit by checking out the community garden and letting your dog play at the dog park near the Southern Recreation Center.
So I promise we didn't write our speeches together here, but pretty much everything Amy has, I have. So we are grateful, Commissioner Dance, for you bringing this project to us last year, and we would like to continue. Last year, we were the only community in Florida that actually hosted this. So this year, there's 2 communities. I think it's up in St. Johns County is the other one, maybe Duval. But anyway, and I love working with our partners at Palm Coast, James Hurst and Gina and Kayla from Parks and Rec. They've been wonderful partners in helping to make this happen. And while we will be on Saturday at Waterfront Park for a few hours, we have, with this video and many others, been promoting and encouraging people to get outside and make use of those trails. And these videos are a great way for people to see how wonderful it is to walk on those trails. So we will have some food trucks out there. We will have some arts and crafts activities out there, some educational opportunities, giveaways, lots of giveaways, and some little mini trail hikes. What is her? Carol Minnie and is doing a nature walk. She's doing a nature walk, right? Many nature walks. So we're going to be doing that, and then towards the end, we're going to have a butterfly release. So that should be a lot of fun to have that. So we hope, even if you can't get out there on Saturday, that you at least make use of one of these trails.
And what time on Saturday?
11 to 1.
Okay. All right, very good. Do you have anything to add, James? We appreciate the city's help and support.
Yeah, James Hurst, Director of Parks and Recreation for the City of Palm Coast. Just on behalf of the city, thank the Commission and the TDC for partnering this awesome program. And then just a quick shout out to those employees on the county and city side that do take care of the trails. They do a fantastic job to make sure that they're safe and accessible for everyone to use. So, and that's it.
Thank you. Good message. Thank you. Sure. Picture time. Come on up.
Sorry, I couldn't talk. I'll have to know each other. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So either way, get out there by bike or by walking and meet us Saturday at Waterfront Park. All right, our next proclamation is for Landscape Architecture Month, April 2025, requested by myself. I appreciate the commission for allowing me the opportunity to do this, but really helping me is Kevin White, my friend. Known Kevin for many, many years. He's the Government Affairs Coordinator for the Florida chapter of the American Society of Landscape Architects and made it down from Jacksonville tonight for the proclamation, so I appreciate that. I will read tonight's proclamation. A proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners proclaiming April 2025 as Landscape Architecture Month in Flagler County, Florida. Whereas landscape architecture is a multifaceted profession that encompasses the analysis, design, planning, management, and stewardship of the natural and built environment, designing and creating community master plans, walkable neighborhoods, multimodal transportation networks, green stormwater systems, and accessible spaces such as public plazas, parks, schools, residential common areas, playgrounds, and trails that lead to active lifestyles and healthy communities. And whereas landscape architects as licensed professionals have a responsibility to protect public health, safety, and welfare throughout the thoughtful design, analysis, management, and stewardship of the natural and built environments in Flagler County, contributing to the overall well-being of its residents. And whereas landscape architects are STEM professionals leveraging science, technology, engineering, and mathematics knowledge to address the most pressing challenges facing its communities, fostering innovation, research, and leadership in the field. And whereas landscape architects as licensed professionals have played an integral role in shaping the economic, social, and cultural fabric of Flagler County, contributing to the creation of vibrant and livable communities that enhance the quality of life for all residents. And whereas Flagler County recognizes the vital role of licensed landscape architects in shaping healthy, equitable, safe, and resilient public and private outdoor spaces, contributing to the overall well-being of its citizens. And whereas Flagler County celebrates the economic benefits derived from licensed landscape architects, acknowledging their role in creating inviting and safe spaces that contribute to the state's economy while simultaneously preserving the environment and ecological systems. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners that they hereby proclaim April 2025 as Landscape Architecture Month in Flagler County, and do hereby recognize the enduring contributions of landscape architects to the well-being and prosperity of Flagler County. Adopted this 21st day of April 2025, attested by our Clerk of Courts, Tom Bexley, and by the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners, myself as chair.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we proclaim Landscape Architectural Month as April 2025.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Hanson, seconded by Commissioner Pennington. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Welcome, Kevin. Thank you for traveling down for this. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for sponsoring.
You can pull that up a little bit. There you go.
Sponsoring this proclamation. I appreciate that. We celebrate this every April. It is coincides with our father, landscape architecture, Frederick Law Olmsted, designer of Central Park, Biltmore Estate, and many other projects around the country. This couldn't be teed up any better with Water Conservation Month, Celebrate Trails Day. I'm loving it, and I'm envious of this county. St. Johns County, my home, needs to take some notes because you guys are doing it right. We appreciate all your support. We do all these things that was just mentioned with Celebrate Trails Day and water conservation. We are dealing with nutrient loads and trying to do design and planting to lighten up some of those in our waterways. We're dealing with green infrastructure. We do a lot of streetscapes and FDOT corridors, highway beautification, and a lot of campuses throughout the country. But we do appreciate it, and thank you for having me this evening.
Well, thank you. Again, thank you for coming down. I appreciate it. And come on up for a picture.
Next to Andy.
Everybody ready? Thank you.
Thank you. Safe travels back. All right, next proclamation is Volunteer Week for Meals on Wheels, April 20th through 26th, 2025, requested by Joseph Hegedus, our Health and Human Services Director. This proclamation will be read by Commissioner Carney.
A proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners proclaiming April 20th through 26, 2025 as Volunteer Week for Meals on Wheels in Flagler County. Whereas the National Volunteer Week is an opportunity to recognize, honor, and celebrate the countless individuals who selflessly invest in the lives of others, and whereas Meals on Wheels of Flagler County, Florida, delivers meals weekly to those who are housebound and unable to prepare food for themselves, and whereas volunteer drivers for Meals on Wheels of Flagler County are the integral support to the program, delivering nutritious meals, caring concern, and attention to the welfare of seniors in our community, enhancing overall quality of life. And whereas volunteering one's time, talents, and resource strengthens communities, improves social problems, and enhances the quality of life of others. It is essential for our senior community that the tradition of volunteering, giving, and sharing will preserve in Flagler County. And whereas each year a special week is designated to our nation for this dual purpose of recognizing those who give of themselves tirelessly and selfishly while serving others, and of encouraging all citizens to become involved in volunteer work. And it is fitting at this time that we say thank you to all the individuals, groups, and businesses who have given time, energy, and resources to their communities through volunteering. Whereas the Meals on Wheels Association of America established the National March for Meals campaign to recognize this historic week, the importance of Older Americans Act senior nutrition programs, and raise awareness about senior hunger in America. And whereas Flagler County wishes to call upon the citizens of Flagler County to volunteer for service and or make a donation to support the local Meals on Wheels effort. And whereas older persons are diverse, respected citizens who continue to contribute to our nation's social and economic well-being as they live longer, healthier, and more productive lives, many even starting second careers. And whereas as America grows older, each community must strive to understand and address the evolving challenges and the needs of our older citizens and for the people who care for them. And whereas the opportunities and challenges that lie ahead require us to think differently about health and long-term care and work together to ensure that older Americans can age strong, long, and with dignity. Now, therefore, the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners do hereby proclaim April 20th through 26, 2025 as Volunteer Week for Meals on Wheels in Flagler County, and call upon residents of Flagler County to join Flagler County Senior Services in observing the week with appropriate activities, programs, and ceremonies promoting the spirit of volunteerism in our community. Adopted this 21st day of April 2025. Attested Clerk of Court Tom Bexley and Flagler County Board of Commissioners Chair Andrew Dance. Chair, I would like to make a motion that we accept this proclamation of Flagler County Board of County Commissioners for Volunteer Week for Meals on Wheels, April 20th through 26, 2025.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. I have a motion for Commissioner Carney, seconded by Commissioner Richardson. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries. Congratulations. Thanks for being here, Mr. Hegedus.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners, Chair. I appreciate the opportunity, and thank you for reading the proclamation. We always appreciate the opportunity to highlight and give thanks to our volunteers. Our Meals on Wheels program would not be what it is without them. Last month, we had 34 volunteers delivering meals weekly. Over 1,800 meals were delivered in 1 month. And again, almost wholly by volunteers using their own vehicles, their own gas, their own time to help us, help seniors in our community. So big shout out to them. I'm not sure if we have any here. If we do, hopefully they can stand up, but I don't think we actually do.
Next time, bring them all with you.
I will. Well, tomorrow is meal delivery day, so hopefully they're at home resting up and gassing up their cars and all the other good stuff instead of taking their time here. That's my presumption. But again, I really appreciate the opportunity to thank them and all their tireless work. That was a lengthy proclamation, but we felt all of that it was important to acknowledge not only the volunteerism, but the needs of seniors in our community and just how integrated senior volunteers are and helping seniors just above them in age and just kind of this whole network of support that exists in our community. It's really compelling and energizing as a Department of Health and Human Services to support that. So thank you for the time. I also want to give a shout out to the group that's up next, Flagler Volunteers. I don't want this to seem duplicative or redundant of their work. They are obviously a great group, and we work with and support them in all their efforts. We just felt we wanted to take a moment and really shine light on our Meals on Wheels folks and
Absolutely.
appreciate them. So
All right, thank you. Let's come up for a picture.
Sure thing.
Ready? Thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And last but not least,
This is a proclamation of the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners proclaiming April 2025 as Volunteer Month in Flagler County. Whereas April is National Volunteer Month, established as the official time to recognize and celebrate the efforts of volunteers nationwide. And volunteerism strengthens communities, improves social problems, and enhances the overall quality of life for all citizens, including children, seniors, those who are disabled, the impoverished, the imprisoned, the homeless, the physically or mentally ill, or those otherwise in need of assistance. And whereas volunteering changes the lives of volunteers in a positive way, increasing self-confidence, self-esteem, and physical well-being, offering the chance to meet new friends and associates, and providing opportunities to learn new skills and abilities. And whereas volunteerism is proven to have a positive influence on businesses that are socially responsible, increasing employee morale, loyalty and teamwork, and building goodwill towards a company. And whereas nonprofits, charities, community, faith-based groups, and national service partnerships in Flagler County have joined together with state and local governments in celebration and praise of volunteers who have given tirelessly and selflessly to the service of others. And whereas volunteers supporting many of Flagler County's departments save our taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars each year. Now, therefore be it proclaimed, the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners do hereby proclaim April 2025 as a volunteer month in Flagler County, and we call upon our residents of Flagler to join us and Flagler County Volunteer Services in observing the month with appropriate activities, programs, and ceremonies, promoting the spirit of volunteerism in our community. This has been adopted the 21st day of April and attested by Tom Bexley, our clerk, and our chair, Andrew Dance. Thank you.
welcome.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the proclamation proclaiming April 25 as Volunteer Month.
I have a motion by Commissioner Pennington, seconded by Commissioner Carney. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Welcome. Introduce yourselves for the record.
Hi, I'm Susie Gamblain, Executive Director of Flagler Volunteer Services.
Hi, Judy Busick, Volunteer Coordinator for Flagler Volunteer Services.
Thank you all. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this proclamation. We really appreciate it. We're always looking forward to April when it's Volunteer Appreciation Month. There's so many volunteers that we appreciate and recognize in our community. I did want to share some statistics with you because I like numbers. But just last year, 1,681 volunteers reported volunteer hours to us. We know this is only the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of volunteers who are doing great things out in the community that don't report their hours. But those volunteers who did served 103,175 hours in Flagler County. Based on the independent sector, that would be over $3 million in value. But even on minimum wage, it's still over $1,341,000 in value to our community. Our agency provides volunteer support to local nonprofits and government agencies. So any nonprofit or government agency that needs volunteer support, they can ask us and we will recruit from our base. Currently, we have about 5,000 volunteers on the base of people that are looking for things to do. Some numbers from our programs. We also run programs in the community. We have our AmeriCorps Seniors RSVP volunteer program, and we have 543 volunteers that are active over the age of 55 serving in Flagler County. Reading Pals program, which is for kids in VPK through third grade to give them some extra support with their reading skills. We had 76 volunteers working with 177 students on a weekly basis all throughout the school year. The Giving Store program, which we hold in December for kids to get gifts to give to their family members. We think this is a great way for kids to learn that there is joy in giving, which we hope leads to volunteerism as they get older. We had 105 volunteers who put that program on. 344 children came through the store and selected 1,770 gifts, all free of charge. Our emergency support services, which we're extremely active with, we were the lead agency for Hurricane Milton, but we also held trainings throughout the year. We had 3 community emergency response team trainings, which are 30-hour courses that were put on by our volunteers. We also had a dozen other disaster-related workshops to teach residents how to be resilient during events that would affect our area. And lastly, we did provide over 40 volunteers to help with the countywide active assailant exercise that was held at the high school. So that was a big deal. And we also sent Judy to Dixie County to help following Hurricane Helene, so help their community with their volunteers and donations. So that was a really big deal for us to be able to send our staff to do something that they have the skills to do. Our Blanketeers program, we had 33 volunteers who made 558 handmade, knit, or crocheted items that we gave out to 21 different locations to provide warmth and comfort to people that were facing some type of crisis. And our support workers available today, we assisted with 44 special events that happened here in Flagler County during 2024. So as you can see, our volunteers are really doing amazing things out in the community. They're a really great group of people. I want to thank you so much for your continued support of volunteerism and your support of our agency. It really means a lot to us and to all the volunteers in the community. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, listening to that, what would we do without you guys? So thank you both for the amount of work that you put into the organization and for everything that you do to support all the different facets of Flagler County. It's amazing work, and we thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, any other comments? You want to come up for pictures? You can come up to the dais as well. Come on up.
We're down one, so that's perfect. You don't line up.
I just kind of show.
What kind of military is that?
Nice to see you. Nice to see you too.
So much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Remember Michael Beach? We were in that little storefront with Michael Beach?
Exactly.
20 years ago.
Take that with you. That's right. Thank you, everybody, for sitting through the proclamations and being able to tell some of the great stories here in Flagler County on a regular basis, all the work that goes on behind the scenes. We're going to have one presentation. This is the library annual report. This is presented by Holly Albanese, our Assistant County Administrator and Library Director. I almost said detector, Library Director. Welcome, good evening.
Good evening, Commissioners. Holly Albanese. I'm here as Library Director tonight. So Jim couldn't be here, but he did send you each a copy of, just his thoughts of what has happened in this past year. Seems very positive and upbeat this year. Anyways, I'll go through this as quick as possible. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them at the end. Not going to work tonight. It's working. I know they changed the battery, but so this is just a picture of the Board of Trustees, and they were at the Nexus Center. Library's been very busy this year. We saw a 12% increase in circulation, and that's actually, last year we had a 20% increase. So the fact that we're still increasing, it tells us that the community is definitely growing. So I wanted to go over some of the service statistics with you. So this past year in '24, we circulated more than 547,000 collection items, including ebooks. We provided service to more than 240,000 people and presented 694 youth and adult programs to more than 25,000 people, and that actually is a 40% increase from last year. We posted more than 800 social media posts, and they were viewed by 396,000 people. We had 7,800 volunteer hours. We have somewhere in the neighborhood between 80 and 100 volunteers that work for us on a daily basis, and that's equivalent to about $248,000 in personnel expenses. And lastly, something that we're very proud of is our passport service. Last year, we did 3,500 passports and took 4,700 photos for a total revenue of $170,307. So state has some standards that these are more like benchmarks or guidelines for certain things that you provide as services to the community and what is considered the best to be able to do that service. So we had pre-2015 minimum standards, and then in 2016 they changed them. I don't personally necessarily agree with the numbers for 2016, so I like to use 2015 numbers as my benchmark, and we're doing a great job considering, and I think we're giving a great return on the investment for the community, and 18.5 staff would be including me. So I like to show this return on investment. So we have almost 50% of the population has a library card, they're registered, and that can't change because we delete people from the system after 3 years if they have not used the library and owe nothing. So that's pretty accurate. Circulation, if you looked at our circulation and you took that number, 547,000 a year, and if you estimate a cost of a paperback at $8, that has a savings to the community of about $4.3 million. However, our library system, our ILS system, which is where you check out your materials, we put in, when we add a book or item to the collection, the actual price. So every time it's checked out, the system adds that in, and actually we get a report every single month from the system showing how much the community saved as a result of using the library. And last year it was $15.3 million. Programs. I like to talk about programs because we do so many programs, both for youth and adults, and I'm not going to go through them all. You see them here. So we have story times, book clubs for boys and girls. We have STEAM Saturdays. We've also partnered with the City of Palm Coast, and we have a story walk. We have summer reading programs. and so much more. I'm not going to read them all. Now, on adult programs, we have a lot there too. Creative writing classes, yoga, adult book classes. We have a lot of tech classes, which have become really popular. Trivia, adult trivia. If you don't know anything about that, they're very popular and competitive, we'll say. Chef Chris comes in and does a cooking class. We have the master gardeners do plant clinics. We did a glass blowing demonstration last year. We also had Fort Mose come out and do a presentation with the musket firing. We had the November annual Veterans Fair and the White Table Ceremony, just to name a few. And then if you look at outreach, we've done quite a bit of outreach in the last year. Almost a dozen times staff have gone out to various places, and we've done everything from being at the schools to Read Across America programs, VFW, Children's Day, and we held various story times at Hidden Trails, Haw Creek, and the Bunnell Carver Center. So I'm just going to show you a bunch of pictures right now. I'll zoom through these, but it's good to see the people actually using the library in the programs. Some of these are summer reading programs. We have our very popular Pause to Read program. We have a lot of kids come in and read to the dogs, and they love that. Actually, it helps them because dogs don't judge, and it actually helps them to become better readers. And as I said, I'm just going to go through these so you can just see how the library is used. Library is a community center. You know, we have a meeting room is very active. We have voting in there. AARP and United Way do free tax service. I got a letter from AARP today thanking us for use. There were about 300 uses this year, which was great. And we had between 24, all the PPP, the primary, the general election, then your special elections. We had 27,000 voters use the library for voting. And of that number, 19,495 were early voters. So services, we have those food for thought kiosks. I don't know if the new commissioners know about those, but basically at the West Side community centers, Hidden Trails, Haw Creek, and Espanola, we have these kiosks, which is half of it is for food that we are able to accumulate at the library through our Food for Fines program, and the other half are books. So we call it Food for Thought. We started that in '23. Passport service, accumulated to date, 1.6 million. Online resources, pillar booth, and I'm going to show you that in the next slide, so I won't go over it. Here we go. Pillar booth, in '23, staff applied to Neflin, that's our cooperative, to get a grant. They were able to get that grant, but money doesn't change hands. We just tell them what we want. We give them the quote from the company, and they ship the product out. And so this was one of the things that we wanted to do. The second pillar booth was paid for by the Friends of the Library. So we have 2 there now. It takes the place of study rooms that we lost when we had to create the teen center. These are graduation pictures from last year. I don't know if you know that, but we also provide graduation photos for the kids. They come in, we take their pictures. It's free service. We send them the digital images. I don't know if anybody's had graduation pictures done for their kids. I had mine 2 years ago for my daughter, and it cost me like $1,000. So we're trying to help save the community some money by doing this. We actually have, they can either bring their own cap and gown, but we also have some on hand. And they're in the process now of taking those photos. Online learning and e-resources, we have a lot of databases available for the community between ebooks. Let's see, we also have News Journal, BrainFuse, which is a self-study or online live tutoring program, book clubs, legal forums, LexisNexis, which is a legal research database, Press Reader is newspapers and magazines online. So, and Udemy, which is skills, business, tech, and design. It's classes. People can get certifications. It's a really good resource. I'm not going to belabor the point on the Nexus Center. We're probably going to have an update coming up real soon. This is the Nexus Center funding model, as you can see, from between grants, passport revenue, impact fees. We brought almost $7.4 million to the table, and that alleviates that money from the general fund, and 9.1 was from the general fund. This is just a site plan. This is a floor plan design, pretty much hasn't changed since then. And then just give you some details. Obviously, we're going to have a youth center, a teen center, shared program room, adult collections, public computer stations, recording and podcast room, an innovation lab, which will be a multifunction room, and of course, family restrooms. That's the library section of the Nexus room. And then you have the community room and HHS details. The large meeting room will be anywhere from 250 to 325 person capacity that can be subdivided when needed. You can hold two different programs at the same time. It'll have a caterer's kitchen, pre-function lobby with micro market, public restrooms, family restroom, wraparound covered portico, and then the HHS department, which is social services, senior services, SHIP. That will be a lobby reception area, private offices, consultation rooms, staff lounge, and restrooms as well. This is the first wall going up on December 10th of 2024. And that's in January, February, March. And just to remind you that the library has some challenges between funding, population growth, homelessness, space constraints, technology, and staffing. We like to say bad libraries build collections, good libraries build services, and great libraries build communities. So we always ask people to join the Friends of the Library because that does support the library. As you may know, they pay for all the programs that have a fee associated with it. And without them, we couldn't have all those great programs that you saw. And then just to summarize, the library is a responsible citizen. We have the passport revenue. We talked about the $15.3 million. And and then, of course, there's our our website. And I'd just like to end on a positive note, reminding everybody that Flagler County Public Library is more than just books. We have, besides passports, registering to vote, we have all sorts of classes, online resources. And so I always ask people, what's the real cost for library services in Flagler County? Priceless. And remember that Flagler County Public Library is the best return on your investment. Thank you.
Thank you, Holly. Thank you for the report.
Yeah. Any questions? If not?
No, give Mr. Olsemer our best, and thank him for sending the report to us today.
Yes. Okay.
I had two comments. One is I got to use the library for Passport this year, so staff was excellent. They did an amazing job. Got us through with even with my penmanship mistakes, because you have to get it right or you have to do it again. And I think the grad picks is really hits home with me, being able to save our families a few dollars, because I've been through it 3 different times, and it's a nightmare for those pictures have to go through that process. So I appreciate you doing that as a community service.
Absolutely.
Anybody else?
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate the update on the Nexus Center as well. Do we have an estimated completion time? Okay. So we're looking at the end of September. Thank you. All right. Well, that does it for our recognitions, proclamations, presentations. Thank you all if you were here for those. Now's a good time if you wanted to head out. I appreciate y'all for being here. We're going to slide from this into community outreach. So at this time, we'll open it up for public comment. This is a 30-minute time period that's been allocated for public comment on any consent agenda item or topic that's not on the agenda. Each speaker will be allowed up to 3 minutes to address the commission. Speakers should approach the podium and identify themselves. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Chair. And good
Pull that
evening,
up a little bit for you.
Sure,
There you
sure.
go.
I'm Pastor Larry Hobbs. I'm the pastor of the Flagler County Baptist Church. And we came here in 2017 and started the church. It's been growing like crazy. Since the start of the church, we've been trying to find a good property for us. We were able to buy a building, but it's not really sufficient. And this past Sunday, the auditorium was packed, the overflow room was packed, everything's packed. We're trying to find a space, so we've been looking for property. We found property based upon a gentleman that attends our church and recently inherited property and wants to sell us some property. The only issue is the property is located on Justice Lane. Justice Lane is it's a named driveway, not a road. Even though it's owned by the county, maintained by the county, it is considered a named driveway. And so I spoke with Bunnell, because it's inside the city limits of Bunnell, the city of Bunnell, and asked them, and they said, oh, we'd have no problem issuing you permits to be able to build there. And I said, oh, great. They said, but you may have a problem because that's a driveway, not a road. And I said, how is it a driveway? There's Stuart Marchman, which is a 501c3 not-for-profit organization that's located on that road that is there along this visitor center for the jail, things like that. So anyways, upon further investigation, sure enough, it is a named driveway, not a road, even though it's owned by the county and maintained by the county. So anyways, we would like for the commission to consider letting us get on the docket. We were on the docket. We were agenda item number 4, and the staff pulled us off today, and they gave me a reason. But I'd rather you guys be the one make that decision, not the staff. But they said it just would set a precedence for other people wanting to build on that road. And so anyways, I'd like for it to be either A, considered a public road, a county-owned road, instead of a private driveway, considering that Stuart Marchman receives their mail at that particular road, Justice Lane, and so apparently the United States Post Office considers it a road to get mail on, and so does the jail. So I just would like for the same treatment. We are also a 501c3 recognized not-for-profit organization. We got a lot of things that we do with the community. In fact, 2 ladies from Stuart Marchman attended my church on Sunday and trusted Jesus as Savior on Sunday and all that. It was a great day. And so we would continue to work with Stuart Marchman, any of the ladies that want to come over to come to church. And also we're starting a horse ranch there on the same property where we're working with disabled children who would not be able to interact with horses regularly or anything like that. They say that the equestrian activity helps to stimulate their brains, things like that, help them to develop. So that's also what we're going to be putting on the property, which is also a community thing to help. So I think it's a great partnership with the county, and I think it goes right in line with what we want on that road. But I just need permission. I have 400 foot of frontage on that road. I just need permission to put an apron out there so that people can come and go. So if you could give me permission to get back on the docket so that I could talk to you about it further and show you my presentation, I would certainly appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate your comments.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Lori Young, and I wanted to ask if there's any type of update you can provide to the concerned citizens of our county regarding Belvedere Terminal's plans for finding a location for their fuel storage facility in Flagler. Associates from Belvedere were observed again in Palm Coast early last week, and that might have generated some emails to you guys. And that was after the Palm Coast City Council had voted no on the proposal to locate the fuel farm in the industrial zone parcel of land adjacent to residential communities. We do not want the fuel farm to be located anywhere in Flagler County, as the people who have the most to gain from this enterprise are not us residents, but the owners and management of Belvedere Terminals. People do not live or move to Flagler County with the hopes that they can work in heavy industrial and live next to millions of gallons of fuel storage. We are also fortunate to live in a county that represents the best of Florida with our beautiful beaches, our green spaces, our trails, and our safe neighborhoods. I imagine Belvedere is desperate to find a home for its toxic fuel towers, and it would be reassuring to know that the county is standing firm and telling Belvedere that we do not have a place for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hi, my name is Chantal Proniger, and I'd like to bring to the table 2 things that really bug me. The first one is the Belvedere project. I think it would be so much liability for the county to authorize that. It has been voted down by the Palm Coast City, and it's difficult for me to even understand why the county would even consider putting that for us who we already said no, is so much liability for the environment, for fire, for derailment, for safety violation, but you've heard it all. I mean, that thing will come by train, and please don't do it. And that's the first thing. The other thing is, I came here one time about the airport. I have 2 minutes, okay. The airport flight school. So I first approached the Palm Coast City about it. Then I came here. Then I went to see the airport, and they sent me to the FAA. And then I contacted the state level. And I've been sent from one place to the next. Why? It would be so easy to just say to the school, don't circle over residential areas, just go over the sea, it's so close. And that would fix the problem. But nobody so far has been willing to take that decision. And I hope that you would consider it and do what's right for the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anna Jones, Z Section, Palm Coast. I'm here to oppose the flight schools. We came here looking for our forever home. We found the model we liked. We found several locations. Palm Coast North was too busy. We found a home that was half built in the quiet and secluded section of the Z Section. Perfect. We visited our home several times to see the progress and never heard or saw any planes over our home. We went to the airport. It was bare. There were no signs. There were no flight schools. It's all fenced in. It appeared to be a quiet executive airport. Soon after moving in, the planes came. Constant, all day, all night, loud, excruciating, buzzing noise inside your home. These are harmful levels of noise. I called the airport and asked the woman, what are all these planes over my house? I said, what are all these planes over my house coming from this airport? She said, we haven't had any planes take off today, right? She asked somebody else, no planes taking off today. He said, no. After days of torture, I looked up the noise ordinance for Palm Coast, 65 decibels, enforced by the sheriff. So I called the sheriff to ask for someone to come and get a decibel reading. They use them for loud parties. He said, I don't do planes, I only do people. I said, sir, there's 2 people in these planes. He said, contact the FAA. My neighbors said, it has never been this bad. Many have complained. The complaints go nowhere. You get passed around to everyone else. No one does anything. You're attacked for your free speech. Some say you should have known better. Well, how would you know? Or some say just move. Who pays for that? This is very stressful and difficult, searching all this flight data, laws, lead, documenting, creating a website, a petition, and the stress of speaking here right now. My website is Peace for Palm, and again, I submit my petition with more signatures than last time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Darlene Shelley, I live in the K section in Palm Coast. I've been before you before to talk about excessive aircraft, training aircraft over city of Palm Coast and Bunnell. I know that this is a health concern for every single resident in Palm Coast and Bunnell and unincorporated Flagler County because of the known fact that single-piston aircraft burn avgas. If you look at the material safety data sheet for avgas, you'll see about 58 pages of the toxic chemicals that are emitted from this type of fuel. And it's the cumulative effects that I'm concerned with. If you do a search for the EPA has certified the known risks to children in their learning capacity, possible links to autism, brain development, and IQ levels. That's not debatable. That's from the EPA. It is not debatable that single-piston planes, that the majority of the training aircraft are, many of them older than me, and I'm no spring chicken, they emit these toxic chemicals which get into the air, which get into the soil, which get into the ground, the canals, Bulow Creek, Graham Swamp, and we have the Volusia Floridian Aquifer right underneath, right south of the airport. Has the lead creeped into our sole source aquifer? Has it ever been tested? And these are real questions that are affecting our safety, health, and welfare in Flagler County, and nobody will address them. On Friday, Good Friday, before Easter, we were harassed in our home. I spent 6 years looking for the perfect lot to build my second dream home. The first was ruined in an HOA, so I had to get out of an HOA. We found our perfect lot. It was nowhere near a flight pattern. We went there probably 70 times because I lived in Hidden Lakes, and we'd go visit the lot, and it was quiet, and it was peaceful, and we couldn't hear 95. Well, it's a nightmare, and we're asking for some relief from the excessive training flight schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Good evening.
Hey, my name is Bruce Jones. I've talked to you guys before. I live in Palm Coast, and I'm going to talk more about the ordinance that you guys are ruling on that might be useful.
That will be you can speak to that item. It's the airport ordinance?
Yes.
When it comes up. That is a specific item on the agenda.
Oh, okay. Then I'm going to wait. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's quite all right.
This was,
when we get past, let me just look up the agenda. 9B. So it is unfortunately, it's the last item to tonight, but it should go quickly. But that is the specific time for that comment. So, good evening.
Hello, how are y'all? I'm Pat Cody, and we actually have two different agenda items. She's just standing up here with me. But mine is regarding the roundabout at Cody's Corner. So there was discussions, and I don't know that this is anything that you can do because it is the intersection of County Road 304 and State Road 11. But in the middle of the roundabout, they now have palm trees. I want to bring your attention to what Hall Creek and Flagler County and that area is about. In 1902, my husband's grandfather settled Cody's Corner. In fact, when my husband's grandfather, Richard Walter Cody Sr., was a county commissioner, he designed that seal. Hall Creek is about horse-drawn wagons. It's about turpentine, cattle, cabbage, potatoes, and even cotton. Yes, my husband's grandfather grew cotton in Hall Creek. It not only provided livelihoods for the people that grew it, but for the people that farmed it. I want to let you know a little bit about Flagler County. Flagler County in 22 and 23 had 5,600 head of cattle. They're number 1 in Florida. They're number 2 in Florida for cabbage, second to Hastings. Turpentine was last produced in Flagler County in the 1970s by Junior Strickland. That's not that long ago. Our Richard Walter Cody Sr. now has great great, great grandchildren that live in Hall Creek. His legacy, and it's not palm trees that's planted in the middle of the roundabout. It's about horse-drawn wagons, cattle, cabbage, potatoes, turpentine, and yes, cotton. So I'm here to request that the palm trees be taken out. There's nothing in Hall Creek that represents a palm tree. We absolutely hate them. They don't shade a cow. They don't shade a person. When you step on them, they hurt your feet. And so that's why I'm here to request consideration into taking out the palm trees in Hall Creek. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
I'm sorry, I thought we were together. I'm Devonna Cody. I have to pull this way down. So I'm just coming here for a drainage issue. I talked to Leanne recently about it on our Hall Creek page. She keeps us informed out there in our district. And the drainage being cleaned out on the west side, I guess there's several ditches and canals. I can't remember the exact locations. But anyway, I had asked about County Road 125 being cleaned out because it has huge pine trees and all kinds of debris and stuff that's been in there for many, many years. And decades ago when we were young, the county would clean it out. Well, I guess the response was that the property owners would have to clean that out. I don't think that that is appropriate. I don't think it's fair. When the county was cleaning it out years and years ago, I own a portion of the canal. Blaine Taylor, the late Buddy Taylor's son, we meet in the middle of the canal. I'm not today, tomorrow, or ever going to pay to have that canal cleaned out. I can't do that. The dirt roads there, I believe the county has an easement, but it is owned privately, and the county takes care of those, and they take care of all these other ditches and canals and things like that. And I just don't know that there's no way that the county owns all of those ditches and all of those canals, and that this specific one we have to pay for to have cleaned out if we want it cleaned out. So that's all I'm here for. It's just to ask if we could have it, reassessed or, whatever, and maybe we can be part of, the drainage clean out. That canal does drain to, eventually it drains to Dead Lake, which goes into Crescent Lake and the St. John's River. So it is a draining canal and a big drainage area for us, That's it. That's all I have.
There's a gentleman in the back. Richard, raise your hand. Richard's who you want to go speak to. And
Who I want to talk to?
He is. And make sure that he gets your contact information so he can do a little bit of research and get back with you.
Okay. Go now?
Yep. Thank you. Next public speaker.
Hello, my name is Roberta Bianucci. I met you before. I used to teach in Flagler County, and I thought you were a wonderful Board of Education representative. The reason I'm here today, I'm speaking on behalf of being a concerned citizen, retired teacher, mom, grandmother. I'm extremely concerned about the Belvedere project, and I know you guys have a list of all the at-risk, the risky, what I want to say. I don't know what I want to say because I know that you've heard it all before, what all could happen with this project. And I guess my main concern is it's so close to homes, and I've heard before there's not enough water in the county in case something was to happen to put out any kind of fire that would be that huge. But to build it right next to where we've got like thousands of new homes, there's no, like 3 football fields to a neighborhood, and then the water treatment that is right there as well. And it just sounds extremely dangerous. And I know that, we were listening to the proclamations today with the Water Conservative Month, the Celebrate Trails Day, Landscape Architecture Month, the Volunteer Week for Meals on Wheels Volunteer Month, and it's all warm and fuzzy. The Belvedere project is not warm and fuzzy. And I know I sat in the city council meeting and the mayor was like, he said, I don't really want this. And then the vice mayor said, this is not our brand. And after sitting in this meeting today, listening to the proclamations that were made today, it's not the brand of this county. This county's got so much to offer people. And again, it's people over profit. And as a council, as elected officials, to me, your main objective is the health and safety of your residents. And I hope that you're going to think about that before putting in a project like this. That's it.
Thank you. Good evening.
Eileen Simeon, Palm Coast. I was here about the Belvedere Startup Company, and I was hoping it would be rejected. It comes to mind something that happened in Providence, Ohio 2 years ago. If you're familiar, they had a train derailment. They could not contain the fumes. And they traveled from Ohio. The fumes traveled to Virginia, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania. And Western Pennsylvania was really affected also. Now, these people had no water, and I believe they had no utilities, and a lot of them couldn't get in their houses for months and months. So I'm hoping that this would be rejected because, if we were to get a leak or a derailment or anything from this startup company that has no experience, it could be devastating for Flagler County, very devastating, because people would leave their homes. If you look up you can look up Providence, Ohio, and you can see, I don't even know if they're back in business yet. I haven't really kept up with it, but I know it affected not just Ohio, but the states around it. So I was hoping this could be rejected and maybe moved on to up to Jacksonville, where they have water on both sides, where they are out somewhere, I don't know, but I don't think Flagler County is a good time or a good place for this. It concerns me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Sure. We still have 7 minutes left, so a couple more speakers. Maybe get 3 in.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I am here to speak up against the possibility of the fuel farm in Palm Coast. As stated by Libby Levette in Fight for Zero, the terms fuel farms and resiliency facilities may sound reassuring, but they serve as thinly veiled attempts to greenwash the true nature of these projects. By portraying the construction of fuel storage and distribution facilities as vital components of resiliency planning, proponents of these bills seek to garner public support while obscuring the potential risks and consequences. Our water system can barely handle the residents that are here, let alone the ones that are planning to move in with all the new apartment buildings and homes being built. Then they want our water infrastructure to be able to handle industrial complex, which incredibly enough possibly is going to be built near a water treatment plant, as well as put us all in danger of a hazardous accident, which this company is already known for. They have had plenty of infractions and a huge history of safety violations and already had near catastrophic accidents happen. This isn't a city like Newark, New Jersey, for instance. This isn't a town capable of handling the weight of this type of industrial facility. Why have another possibility or reason to contaminate our water with a spill? Why would we want to have fumes and materials that could be catastrophic if, God forbid, there is a fire or an explosion? Did we not learn anything from 1998? Where will enough water come from? Not here with Palm Coast water infrastructure. Does that make sense, wanting to build near schools and homes, but not near a waterway? Being built near a water treatment facility not only isn't enough, but sort of a slap in the face. Where and how will the victims evacuate? Or do you not care? Because somewhere, someone cares more about their pockets being lined. No thanks. Let's instead move forward with a sports complex that can benefit all residents, especially the children. That's how you can show you care for the community. Many of us have been told through email that this project has been nixed, including at the last meeting, where so many of us cheered and applauded, even thanked you for listening to our pleas. So then tell us why, right after that, a few days later, Belvedere was present. Was that all just a ruse to keep us quiet? Trust me, it didn't work, and we are not going away. Thank you.
Okay, I'll take care of it. Any other speakers? Last call. All right, seeing no speakers, we'll go ahead and close public comment, and I'll address a couple of the issues. Appreciate you here again, the people against the fuel farm. And I had a couple emails, I think 3 or 4, from people that talked about Belvedere being back at City Hall. I've been on vacation, don't know if they've been there or not, but we haven't had anything. I haven't had any inclination that they're trying a new location or facility somewhere. What I will tell you is that based on the prior city's meeting, they told the commission that it's going to take a 4-to-1 vote to approve anything at a industrial site in the city of Palm Coast. And you heard the city council people. That's highly unlikely they're going to get 4 votes from anybody, any issue that comes up from Belvedere. I don't see it happening, but that was because it's a high-intensity commercial, it's going to take 4 votes, a supermajority, to approve that type of project. There's no project. They haven't approached the county for sites. I don't think there's a site in the county that could handle their requirements because we don't provide utilities. So I don't see that happening. But just wanted to allay any concerns or fears that you'd have to go ask the city. If you saw them at City Hall, you'll have to ask the city. But from our standpoint, we were acting on the state's behalf as the conduit for helping Belvedere, if the city approved it, of helping them with finances that the state was supplying. So as the county government, we were written into that legislation. So that was the responsibility that the county had through that. But with Palm Coast not being interested, at least that's what they publicly stated and voted, we have no more, there's nothing else the county can do on that part. And in regards to the airport, what I would refer the comments from Ms. Shelley about lead is that the county did a lead test. We reported it last month. So the lead readings in the air and the ground are de minimis. There's nothing that the scientists that perform the tests will give you a copy of the test. So you'll be able to review it and contact the scientist if you want, but there was more lead in the air along 100 than anywhere on airport property, and there was de minimis amounts in the soil. At the points where you would think you would find lead, there was a de minimis amount, but I'm not even reading. So we'll get those results and that to you. So. Ms. Cody left about the palm trees, but I'm sure we'll contact DOT. I know there's restrictions on what can happen in a circle, but
I just forwarded an email. She posed the question to FDOT prior to the meeting. Ed Kestery at FDOT has already responded that he'll look into it.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to share that email exchange with you, but FDOT is looking into her concern.
Right. And hopefully Richard can help on the drainage easement. Did anybody else have anything else on public comment that they wanted to add?
Justice Lane issue?
Pardon me?
Justice Lane issue, do you want to talk about that?
Oh, Justice Lane issue. It was news to me. Since it was pulled, I didn't ask any questions figured it was going to come back, but Did you want to address that?
The only thing I can say is it was originally placed on there at the request of Adam Mingle. He happens to be on vacation this week, so he's not here, obviously. But he had told me at the time of publishing that he had reached out to the gentleman who was requesting it and hadn't received a follow-up from the applicant. He doesn't currently own the land. He was interested in, buying it, but I don't know if, with the holiday coming up, if there was an issue, but Adam had told me that he did not hear back from the applicant or the person wanting to bring it forward, which is why it was pulled. We can certainly bring it back to your next workshop if that's the direction of the board.
I just think, as I was listening to the gentleman, I think it would be worth a conversation about the intent of the area. So if as I understood, if the intent is to, as a private road, if it's to limit the amount of uses based on what's out there, the jail, Stuart Marchman, and the new training center coming out there, if there's maybe there's an overlay or something that goes on the property along Justice Lane, maybe as we look to the comp plan, maybe there's an appropriate overlay that limits what we can do out there, because I do think there's valid points in with the existing. If it is private, obviously, if we want to look at limit the uses out there, I think the property owners would want to have some input into that process.
I think if we don't use the driveway, it's landlocked. I think it's a landlocked issue. There's no other way in.
Right, but they're not guaranteed access to a private drive. I mean, they would.
I thought we owned it.
We do, but I think the land adjoining, or there's no other way in to that land. So it would be landlocked.
I believe the zoning is City of Bunnell, not necessarily the county. So when we talk about an overlay, I don't know that we could impose one.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
But based on his comments, and this was news to me at least, the part about the equestrian, I'm not sure how well that goes with a gun range.
Right, absolutely. I think that's part of what we should probably maybe talk about anyway, but
yeah, no, I agree. I agree, and Sean can probably weigh in on the legal side of it.
Certainly worth a discussion. It is a private driveway. It's not a public road. We don't take gas tax on it. They would have an easement of necessity because it is a landlocked parcel. That's an old common law doctrine that's been codified into statutes, and they would have to essentially just cut a dirt road in through the neighboring parcel. However, if this board wants to grant an easement, we can do that as well. Up to this point, the county has had a policy of not allowing private entities to use that driveway. I remember once during Mr. Coffey's tenure when we turned somebody down for the same request. So it would be a change in policy, which is certainly within your prerogative. So I think a good idea to have a workshop item when Mr. Mangle is back,
Sure.
and we can look at this globally.
You can pull some of those old documents back. That would be helpful to look at.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sean, maybe you can tell me, is that where they take prisoners through that street? Is that where they transport them?
Yes, Commissioner. That's where the jail is. It's going to be the training facility for the State Guard. The fire rescue has training that they do out there where they have a burning structure and they climb the stairs and that sort of thing.
So it's mostly municipal people that are,
Yes,
government people that are using those facilities in that road.
Yes.
But there is a question of health and safety on that too, in my mind, in the event that there should be an accident or something to put other people in peril. I'm just wondering about that. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, yeah, there was a comment about the sports complex, and Commissioner Pennington's point was there was some statements on social media since the sports complex was brought up that we have already approved the sports complex, and what we had at the last meeting was a presentation by Synergy Sports, and they were looking for consensus from the commission so that they could spend some time and do their initial due diligence and analysis and bring their financial documents back to prove the concepts that they presented to us. So we gave them the authority to go do some additional research and bring it back to us. So there's nothing that has been signed or approved with Synergy yet. Just the acknowledgement that it's a worthwhile project to look at in more detail. So that's the next step, is for them to come back with some more detailed documents. Thank you. Anything else from up here? All right. Well, thank you for the public comments. I appreciate it. On consent, is there any comments that any of the board members want to make regarding any of the consent items?
I have comments for, I have an item pool eventually, but I have comments for 7E and 7E and 7C.
Okay.
So 7C was pulled. Is it coming back about North Florida Land Trust?
We have that scheduled for your May 5th meeting. There was a contractual change, I think, that the North Florida Land Trust had wanted. We worked through the issues, but we thought it might be helpful if we have them come give a presentation on what the services that they're providing. So we have that coming back on May 5th.
Okay, and I was going to ask, if it's coming back, can we bring an update of where we're at on the legislative spend for the 10 million and what the parameters are around, as far as where are we at getting that spent, and what is our drop date for returning funds to the state, or what we think might be our date?
We can work into the 5th, maybe a update or a
Yeah, just an
presentation
update.
from land management.
Just want to make sure that we're
on their
staying on
ESL
top
program and where they're at with that.
on those. And then 7E, I just want to call attention, that is the kitchen for the Bull Creek Campground. I think when we looked at this, I don't know, 2.5 years ago, it was like $160,000, and now it's quite expensive. And I'll just, in case anyone was thinking about it, going to put it out here. One is, it is state funds. We were given this, we were blessed to get funding from the state on this project. Two, we acquired the McCraney property, which, if you're a very forward-thinking person, you will appreciate what Bull Creek will be one day when all this is put in. And three is, while it is an expensive kitchen, I have faith in Mr. Dixon that he understands what Bull Creek can be, and that this, when done right, I mean, it is taking longer than we thought to get it done, but I have faith that it will get done and look wonderful. And that's why I'm not pulling it. So that's just my take. And certainly that district has been very patient awaiting this.
And I had a comment on top of that. I did go over that very focused on it. And yeah, it does seem like a lot of money. On the other hand, it's going to be an easier build. We're not going to be using manpower to put a kitchen together with the container type kitchen, which is, I think, a brilliant idea. And that area deserves something that doesn't float on
It might
bad
float away.
rains. How many times have we rebuilt that? So to have a good, solid, as the growth of the campground, I think it's going to be an excellent tourism spot and an excellent place for locals to go and camp without having to park their camper.
Otherwise, like, I would, if it was our funds, I would certainly be pulling this for discussion, but we have waited so long for this project, and
I'm glad to see it progressing. That's good news.
Okay, anybody else with comments?
I had some comments
Sure, absolutely.
on C and E. I did meet with Eric and Mike to talk about, and the lawyer, actually, to talk about the North Florida trade. I also participated in a 2-hour workshop with the, I don't know who put it on, I'm sorry, but the name of it was Planning and to Protect the Florida, it was with the Wildlife Corridor 2.0, Building Bridges. And that discussion was all wrapped around, obviously, conservation and ag, and how the ag and conservation are working together. They have lots of common goals, but I know this agreement that we were going to look at tonight was a 3-year commitment with a 1-year look. So if something didn't happen in 1 year, we can get out of it. But my goal would be more, I think a little bit like what Commissioner Pennington's talking about, would be, look where we are, because these folks also do clear planning for future funds. I've spoken with them. They knew about our referendum and our money for ESL. I don't know that we have a good grasp on how we're going to spend these funds. And if I'm impressed with what they have, I would like to see them do more than negotiate on our behalf for future lands. We in Flagler County, if you look at the wildlife corridor, we have prime, not that they're for sale, I didn't say that, but we have prime opportunities, and the state is looking very heavily on conservation land for future ag or ag land in general. And on 7E, I took it a little different on with Mike Dixon. Also, my concern was the cost, obviously, of the kitchen, but I wanted to know what the mitigation is for preventing future flooding. He did a very good job explaining to me the buildup, the soil, the height, how much higher we were going, what the parameter and the dock was going to look like. I just like to say thanks to Mike, but I think both of these projects need a much higher priority status than what we have given them. We're using state funding in both of these situations, and we're going to talk about another one that deals with the Emergency Preparedness Center, or not preparedness, but the emergency shelter, and it just doesn't look like these projects are getting the attention that we either took money or accepted money or thought somewhere that we were going to be able to handle this, but it's not real. They're not moving forward, I think, as quickly as they should. And then I just have a general comment about consent agenda items in general. Please don't take this personally for anybody that writes the backup for what I look at every other week or twice a month, because they are thousands and thousands of pages, and I think you all know that. However, I would like to ask that some of these reports be a little more thorough and provide some history. So I've only been here a few months, and it's okay. As soon as I get my agenda packet, I open it, and I know where the agenda is heading, but I cannot get through all those pages. There's no way. I've met with legal. I know what they look at. There's been several agenda items that I don't think that they're thoroughly written. So my request is for staff to look at them as the subject matter expert, but somebody talking to somebody who doesn't know the subject. Please give me a little more history. Please give me budgets or timelines that's a little more background or history. Please don't assume that I know all this stuff. I do meet with staff. I do send emails. I do everything I can to get myself smart on as many of these items as I can. But one suggestion is to give your summary to another staff member that may look at it a little bit differently and to try to get some better understanding. I'm not saying they're all like that. I've just found that over the last few meetings, I don't know if it's a timing thing, but, and I did get a commitment from someone that I'm going to get to review the next one. So they just seem lacking sometimes, and it makes me a little weary about the content. I know you guys know all this stuff, but we don't. I don't know it all. So just give me a little bit more material to work with, and obviously if I don't get it, I will ask for it.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on agenda?
I can almost ditto. I told somebody I have to read 1,200 pages in the next week, because I get that paperwork on Monday, for the next Monday, if I'm lucky enough to get that on time and see it come up. And I said, 1,200 pages, I'll see you next week. Because I work from day to night going over those forms, that material to make sure I'm doing my job. It's not an easy job. I work 90 hours a week on this job. I've told you where I've gone and meet people. Just the reading hours are unbelievable. But the comprehension of what you're reading is, anybody can read words. Comprehending it is a little bit more. And this is a big job for us to make it. So I'm going to repeat what Kim has said. I appreciate the time I've had with administration to help get questions and answers. But it's way too big an agenda for us to be able to swallow in a week and just swallow it and make these decisions that are high dollar and concerning all of us. So I appreciate what you're doing. It's just overload at times. So I can feel that way. And I'm going to back that up because I can agree with her. It's been 6 months. I'm getting better, but I do want to make sure I'm looking at everything that you send us. Because I can't, nobody says that. Everybody says you can't read 1,200 pages in a week. Well, I'm doing it, but it's a lot of hours and a lot of concentration, a lot of frustration. So thank you for that.
Okay. Would anybody like to pull any of the consent items?
I do. I'd like to pull 7D.
7D. 7D is consideration of the award for the design-build contract agreement with Flagler County and Mayor Najim Construction for the Flagler County Multipurpose Emergency Preparedness Facility. So we'll pull 7D. Is there anybody else? I'm going to pull 7E. I know we talked a lot about it, but I've got one point I want to make, which I don't think I can do outside of pulling it. So,
Got it.
So we'll pull 7D, 7E. Anybody else? Okay, so we'll move those to the end. 7D.
Mr. Chairman, I move we can approve the consent agenda with the exception of 7D and 7E.
I have a motion by Commissioner
I'll
Hanson.
second.
Seconded by Commissioner Carney. All right, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Okay, so we will move to 7D. 7D is consideration of award and approval of phased design-build contract agreement between Flagler County and Mayor Najim Construction under request for proposal 25-044P for the Flagler County Multipurpose Emergency Preparedness Facility.
So I have a couple of questions on this. One is, I know you and I've talked a little bit, and I've heard just back and forth, but this actually said we're going to have to approve a resolution on this one. Can you talk a little bit about why we're having to do the resolution, which just will designate Ms. Petito to execute all the project-related documents due to the grant expiration?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hamid Tabassian, County Engineer. So your question is about just the resolution?
Because there was some delay, right? There was delay in getting this out to bid, right? Or we're having to do a resolution. So the board's having to do a resolution on this one because this grant expires in June of 2026, the funds that we got for this project. And if I'm not mistaken, we can't run over that drop date, right? June 30th. That's our drop dead date on it. Okay. And so because we are up against the project, we're going to need to, on the back of this, give the county administrator's signatory authority for all the documents that come on this one, right? So that she doesn't have to keep coming back to the board. So are we going to see the plans on this? Or are we going to go for approval? Or is this just going to explain to me the resolution process?
Sure, yeah. The resolution, like you said, this is being a fast-track project. We issued the RFP. We went through the evaluation and determination of the award, and we are happy to bring this to you. And we have $10 million from state for the design and construction of this project. We have just over a year to design and construct this and complete the project by June 30th of next year. So with that, right now, after your action tonight, we would be receiving the phase one of the project, which is the design and the pre-construction services from the proposed design build team. We would be evaluating that and negotiating that phase one contract, and with your approval, we would be issuing a task work order that would be signed by the county administrator, Ms. Petito, and get us moving forward toward designing the project. And just to eliminate this waiting time for board meetings, that's the purpose of that resolution. And to expeditiously get through this process. If you like, we'll try to make it back here for your consideration, or have a workshop items to go over the design and the updates, or however you like. But that was the reason for the resolution.
Oh, yeah, because, I mean, I've never seen a resolution. Have we done a resolution on the back of a capital project?
Yes.
We have? Okay.
You'll
Yeah.
typically see them with state funds. I know transportation has resolutions and things that we adopt, and in the past, it's always been the administrator for signing off on the grants, only so that we can keep the process moving. And I did just want to mention that we didn't get the grant agreement until I think it was December 18th, fully executed. So there isn't really a delay per se. It's just the timing of when we need to expend the funds. But we had covered this at our workshop when we talked about capital projects, and we can certainly bring it back to the board at workshops to give updates on this project as well as Bull Creek.
Yeah, this one, because this one, yeah, it's been, I don't, and I've heard I've had back and forth depending on who you talk to, various issues with the reasons for delay, and then I, worried that we were not going to get what we thought we would get out there because of the timeline. We might have to pay a premium out to building it, is what I also heard. So I just want to make sure that we get to see this project, as a board, and that if we have issues or something with it, because I just don't want to get, since we're down 9 months already, I don't want to get not what we intended to get out there, because we're up against their June deadline. So I want to make sure that we're seeing it as a board in a workshop somewhere,
Sure.
so that we're, it's very particular for the cattlemen. I know it's an emergency services, but we want to deliver to them what we promised, as far as a building. So I want to make sure that we're delivering out there for those folks.
Absolutely. The method that we are using, the phase design build, gives us the ability to rapidly deliver the project based on the schedule that we got, but it's going to be very collaborative. And that's why,
When we started this, we were going to hard top portions, redo ball fields, 4-H barns and all that. Now it's kind of getting a little all over the place, not fulfilling what we had originally talked about. So I just want to kind of stay on top of this because,
Sure.
I went to bat for this, and, I'm really proud of that we're going to get this for those folks out there. So I just wanted to make sure when I saw the resolution, I wasn't, to be honest with you, I wasn't comfortable because I didn't want to really just, not see it again until we were cutting a ribbon. You know what I mean? I want to see this project in front of the
absolutely.
board, and I want them to see it. And I want to get $10 million worth of a building, So, yeah. So that's it. I've never seen this resolution, so I was not as comfortable with it. It just felt like, we wouldn't see this project again, but I do want to have some input if we need to, so if we can see it back at workshops. Oh, yeah.
From the general contractor, can we get a milestone project timeline so that we can also schedule either workshops to meet and coincide with some of those milestones so that we're able to, as Commissioner Pennington say, stay on top of the design portion and the build portion.
Sure.
It would be helpful, I think, to be able to visualize the project in its early design stage, especially.
Absolutely. We'll have a schematic design, and we would share that before moving to the final design. We also got Ryan Suits from our design build team, project manager, or here he is, if you'd like to hear from him as well. They are working also on our fire stations. They are as the construction manager at risk. That's a little bit different delivery method, but they have done excellent job, and we are happy to have them on this through the comparative process that we had, and through the basically the best value determination, they became the team that came to be the top ranking for this project.
Yeah, I was concerned that we're just not going to have our hands to see it, so we can just prioritize them.
We'll bring you the updates as you need.
Yeah, I think it's important, too, to see the entire construction schedule through completion, knowing how tight it is, that there's accountability through the year.
I already have the schedule that they submitted with their proposals. I would tomorrow we'll share that, send that to you, and then on monthly basis or however you want it, we'll update you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Other comments from Hamid?
And Jonathan Lord's included in all this?
Absolutely,
okay.
yeah. He'll be managing the grant portion of it, communicating with the state on the grant aspect of it.
But the building itself, he's working with your design team?
He's part of the team, yes.
Any other questions for Hamid? No. Okay. I don't have any other questions. Does anybody want to throw?
Yeah. Chair, make a motion to approve item 7D, the consideration, award, and approval of the contract between Flagler and Meyer Nesium Construction.
I'll second.
I'm sorry, who was that? Okay. I have a motion for approval of the item. This is 7D, consideration of award and approval of the design build contract and the included resolution. Motion by Commissioner Pennington, seconded by Commissioner Carney. Let's go out to public comment. Is there anybody that would like to comment on this agenda item? All right, seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board and call the question. All those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. And we're going to discuss the second pulled item, which is 7E, consideration of approval and award for request of proposal 25 RFP-045 to Contact Pro for the shipping container kitchen for Bull Creek Campground. Thank you, Mike.
Good evening.
This is just following our conversation. My thoughts in reviewing this was it's awfully big. And you mentioned the price, so that was kind of as I was looking at it. And my only thought was, I think Mike relayed some of the same concerns, but I only thought maybe we put in an amount not to exceed, so that gives Mike some additional flexibility to maybe pull it back by one, and maybe this isn't perfect, but it just sounded like it might be more than we needed, and I just wanted you to be sure, so that if you think it needs to be whittled down, at least you've got a not to exceed, and you're not stuck with what we approve right now.
I understand. I did reach out to the leaser of the restaurant, and we talked about it. So we're going to talk again tomorrow. We're actually going to probably go look at a few kitchens and make sure that we're not overbuilding.
So that would be my comment, is just if there's a motion to approve, we just approve it with an amount not to exceed, so he has some flexibility.
And you're going to be able to get the metal building over it and all that into the budget, right? We're going to get
Correct,
this
yes.
done.
Yeah, we already have that.
Okay.
We put in for a bid
Yeah,
on that
I
already,
was-
so we're good.
It was a little taken aback by it.
For
But,
clarity, could you just say what we're building out there so everybody has
I
an
think
idea?
if people saw like the pictures, you'd be like, wow,
It's a big mystery for
it's an
most
interesting
people, I
thing.
think.
Well, we
Me
presented it,
included.
and I don't think we have it up
No.
now, but it
Okay.
ends up being about 2,400 square feet on the inside, but then the whole building's about 4,800 square feet. So it has a wraparound porch, front and back, gives you a view of the lake, and then, so the kitchen sits inside with 88 restrooms, and they'll have an office also. So it's being raised about 5.5 feet from its old position, so that will get it out of the floodplain.
Yeah. Are we going to, off-topic question, do we know if we're going to be able to insure once we get it out of the floodplain?
We would be able to,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so it is an interesting, this is a Connex box?
Connex
It's
box.
just an interesting thing. It's dropped inside of this
Drop it
building, and the
inside.
building's built around it.
Yep.
So, and I think Bull Creek's going to be amazing once the whole, whatever's done with the McCraney property and everything comes to play.
It will be nice out
It
there.
will be
yeah.
nice out there, so. But that's a good one. So
I
you
know
wanna-
it was a sales brochure, but did you see where these containers
know.
are?
I know.
mean, it's kind of
neat.
modern.
Like Disney World-ish.
They have them all over the place. SeaWorld, malls.
And thank you to the state of Florida.
So if anybody wanted to do the
yes,
motion, it was
I
just to add not to exceed. So like you said, I have full confidence with the leasing, come up with something. And if if we can move that money to something else, if you think you need more room underneath, you have some flexibility to do that. But you can always come back to this if this is what you want.
Okay, that works.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the award of request for proposals, RFP, to the Contact Pro for shipping container kitchen for Bull Creek on a not-to-exceed $500,000 limit.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Hanson, seconded by Commissioner Richardson. This time we'll pull it out for public comment. Is there anybody from the public wish to comment?
I just got it real quick. Yeah, this seems huge. I built a commercial kitchen for Jack's Links out on his that big hunting lodge he's got out there. Massive place for gourmet cooks. I think it was like $250,000, maybe $300,000. So I'm amazed to find out what a $500,000 kitchen is going to look like. I think that's it needs the kitchen. I'm not going to say it doesn't, but that's really pricey.
Right.
Oh, sorry. Ron Long, Aldo Drive.
I think that's the common consensus, so thanks.
It is. We, unfortunately, it's state funds that we received that were specific to this project, but we are up against a really incredibly tight timeline, or all the funds for Bull Creek, the whole project go away.
What is the square footage on the kitchen? I've got
You have to come back, Ron.
I'm sorry. I've got Connexes on my property. I got two 40-footers. What size is it?
This is 960, so it's 340.
Three 40-footers line, okay.
Yeah.
Plus you're
equipped.
not talking about the shipping costs and the savings of manpower to put it together, because how much is it going to cost to get people that are mechanical people to insert and deliver and...
Yep. No, I understand that. And like I said, I did construction on I wish you guys could get out to see the Jack's Links property out there. It's gorgeous. But yeah, in that kitchen, a gourmet commercial kitchen only came to about $300,000. And it was huge.
Okay, any other comments? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back. Any other comments for Mr. Dixon? All right, so I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Hanson. Who was the second? Pam Richardson. I didn't write it down, so I have to write it down so I can remember. All right, so you got the motion and the second. All right, so all of those in favor signify with aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Mike. All right, we'll move to 8A. This is general business. Approve amended purchase and sale agreement with Radiant Palm Coast LLC for conservation lands in the amount of $3 million for a portion of the Pringle Forest.
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening. Sarah Spector, Assistant County Attorney. I had a PowerPoint just so I could point out what the changes were.
Sure.
Perfect. So, in the way of history, as you may recall, you previously voted on this, and at the time that you approved this, there was no reverter clause in the agreement. We were in the midst of negotiating with Radiant, and when it came to you, the contract did not have a warranty deed that had the reverter language in it. Now that you have considered it and approved it, there is a reverter paragraph, and I'm going to explain to you what that means and what impact it has on this agreement. So all of this language is in the warranty deed, not the purchase and sale agreement itself. So because it's pretty buried in your documents, I included the page numbers in case you wanted to look at them as well. But this is pulled exactly from the warranty deed. And what you'll see it does, it distinguishes between the overall property, and then it splits it into the DRI property and the non-DRI property. And this use clause identifies the uses that may occur on the non-DRI property. And it prohibits all uses except a few that are enumerated on Exhibit E for the for the DRI property. So what does that mean? And why is it important here? As it relates to the DRI property, if any of the uses on Exhibit E, any uses that are not on Exhibit E are actually carried out on this DRI property, the county has to give the land back to Radiant. So it's very important to understand what can be done on that property and for how long that restriction is in place. So to give you a better idea of what we're talking about, what you'll see here is up in the left corner of your screen is a snippet from the City of Palm Coast's future land use map. And what this future land use map is showing here is a bit of the Old Brick Township. And you'll see that in the little almost U-shaped piece that's in the red cross hatching. And then if you look at the next map, this is the map of, on the right-hand side is the map of what the county will be purchasing is in green. And the DRI property is part of that as outlined here in red. So you'll see what is in green inside the red is the DRI property. So this is the property that we're talking about when we're talking about the reverter clause.
That was very slick, by the way. That was good graphics.
I was only working on it all day today, so thank you. But as to the green property outside of the red, that's the non-DRI property. So I'm going to cover that as well, just so you know the difference between the two. When this had already been to you and came back to us with the reverter clause, we've been negotiating with Radiant since then. We obviously wanted to take the reverter clause out because if we were to make a recommendation, it would be no reverter clause. They are insisting on the reverter clause, so what we have negotiated with them is we'll tell you what uses we want to use that property for, and you tell us if that's okay. And they said, okay, but we want the City of Palm Coast to say it's okay because they're the one that dictates what does and does not happen in the DRI and when the DRI is triggered. So essentially what Radiant is at here is once they start building in the DRI, it triggers their timelines for the DRI. So as soon as any development happens, that triggers their timeline for finishing out that development. Until then, they can do their timber, silviculture and all of that, but once they start developing, they're on the clock. So they don't want the county, after purchasing the property, to do anything that would trigger that. So what they've done is they've said, okay, City of Palm Coast, this is what we plan on doing with the property and what the county tells us that they plan on doing with the property. And that's what you'll see here in the list of 8 uses. But then you'll go on to see that really the only thing that the county's contemplating is between number 2 and number 6. So what they said is, we're only going to sell this property to the county if you, Palm Coast, tell us it's okay and that it won't trigger development under the DRI. So then we got, Radiant got a letter back saying, we agree with you. This does not constitute development, so as long as you only do one of those 8 things, you won't start your time clock, and the county won't have to give the property back. So as it relates to the non-DRI property, I'd cut this out of 2.1 just so I can blow it up here. This is what we can do outside the red area. And this is the majority of where the county plans on developing or using the recreational aspects of the property, is outside of the DRI property. So this is the more camping, hiking, all of those uses, and anything that goes with it, such as boardwalks and things of that nature, will be outside the DRI property. And then when you get to the DRI property, it's more limited to just your normal, if there's any invasives that need to be removed, or they will allow for trail roads, but no more extensive construction than what you see here on these 7 uses. They didn't include, they were not willing to include number 8, which you'll see here is other similar activities and uses. They are willing to negotiate with us in the future if that Radiant, that is, because the city has already told Radiant these uses are okay, but Radiant wants, since it's such a blanket statement, they want to be able to know what it is that we plan on doing and that it would be okay with them as well. So 8 is not currently included in Exhibit E, but it can be in the future as a talking point with Radiant. So as far as what it means on the DRI land, until the DRI expires or 2075, these are the only uses that can happen on that property that's inside the red square. So we bring this back to you because you previously approved it without the reverter language. The only difference now is that the reverter language is in there. You can use that property for these uses here, or it goes back to Radiant. Again, only what's in the red area. So with that, were there any questions?
Questions?
I went through that fast.
Does the state allow this?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I do know that Adam had gone back to FWC and said, we have this language in there. Do you have any issue with it? And the response he got was, it's your money. So if you're okay with that restriction, then we're okay with it.
Okay. And DRIs typically have language in there where small changes can be handled administratively. Did we look into removing this from the DRI?
We did not, but it is a possibility to do that in the future.
It would seem, it's because I know if...
Removing these restrictions?
No, removing the parcel from the DRI.
Oh. Well, Radiant got their development rights in exchange for preserving this land, and whether it's in the DRI or not, they have to ensure that it remains preserved.
Would the sale not preserve that? Or is this the only way of preserving it?
No, it's not the only way. Yeah, there's other ways, but Radiant is rather insistent.
So they're ensuring that if we do something that isn't preserving it, it reverts back to them to preserve.
Right.
Because it's within their...
If we were to build anything on there, they'd have to pay a lot of money in transportation improvements for the DRI area. That's what would be triggered. They'd have to pay a lot of money to build roads and drainage facilities for the roads, et cetera. So they're just protecting themselves.
What would we have been able to do with it under the ESL that we're now no longer able to do with this? Anything? Because I know ESL has its own restrictions of what we can do. So is there anything that we're missing out as an opportunity due to the reverter?
Not much. ESL lands, we can have park-like amenities on them, such as bathrooms, for example. So here, we can't build a bathroom on this land. It's really just going to be remote, preserved area. That non-DRI land, though, as you saw, we can do, passive recreation and park-like facilities.
The ESL language has provisions where you can spend some ESL money to provide access for the public, because it's not just preservation, but providing access to the public. So that remains with the dirt roads.
Just no restrooms for them.
Right. No, no structures and things like that. And part of me thinks this is additional backup for the county to preserve it as we intend.
Well, right.
Because we don't want it reverting.
Right.
So this is, my only concern is as 50 years from now, entirely different people will be here, and we just have to make sure they all remember that. And I don't know how we do that. How does the, other than these are recorded restrictions?
That's what I was going to say, is they'll be of record.
Right.
And
I mean, I think I don't like their verter clause. However, this is ESL, it's conservation, it's upland, it's in the area that we intended to conserve. So we can always make trails. There just won't be anything else. And
I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but it's my understanding that this is the only property right now that is slated for the $3 million.
That's correct, because this was,
yes.
Yeah, we are, yeah, that's a whole nother, yeah.
Would this add to our wildlife preservation? I'm not going to say corridor, I'm saying.
It is part of the corridor.
I'm just talking about our preservation, right? So
it's fine.
if we could save another.
Do I
Another
like
critter?
being told what to do with our land?
No, not at all. But
not at all.
I think it actually to some degree, it actually helps the parcel as pristine preservation.
Right.
With the non-DRI, we can create a park or, so that's fine.
Yeah, there is that over there.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, very good. I'll open this one up for public comment. Anybody wish to comment on this item? Good evening.
Hi, Darlene Shelley, K-Section, Palm Coast. If you could clarify, because I'm not quite sure what the intent would be. I'm assuming that the county wants to buy this property from Radiant, but it's already conservation lands? No? If there could be a little bit more involved with what the intentions are of the county for this property and why you'd want to spend money, is it state appropriated money that needs to be spent? If this land is already conservation or being used as timberland or like farmland. So my question would be why and what is the benefit to the residents of the county? Thank you.
Sure. It is taking it out of the DRI into the county's hands for preservation specifically in a targeted area that otherwise could be developed.
Funds.
The funds are for state appropriated. Did I get anything wrong on that, Sean?
No, that is correct. If we don't buy it, perhaps one day it would be developed, and we're going to make sure it stays preserved. It's at the headwaters or that area of Pellisier Creek, a very sensitive area that we want to protect.
And DRIs can be changed at any time. I mean, they have a master plan, but they have capabilities to amend DRIs at any time. Happens all the time, actually.
I see the state specifically appropriated money for this very area. This is part of the corridor, the wildlife corridor, and for us to try to ascertain conservation in the area. So it's the only place we could spend the funds. We're taking some land off from being developed.
Any other public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board. Any other questions for Mr. Moylan or Sarah? Thank you for the presentation. All right, anybody want to motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the amended purchase and sale agreement with Radiant Palm Coast LLC.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hanson, seconded by Commissioner Richardson. We've gone to public comment. If there's call the question, excuse me? Yeah. Okay, get in there.
She got excited.
All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. All right, we'll move to public hearings. These are quasi-judicial process. The audience should refrain from clapping, booing, or shouts of approval or disagreement to avoid potential legal ramification and possible overturning of a decision by the courts. A public hearing must be fair in 3 respects: form, substance, and appearance. Time limits will be observed, and at this point, we'll have Simone coming up. Since Adam is not here, this is item 9A, quasi-judicial public use in the AC Agricultural District for Fire Station 51 at 245 County Road 305.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
You need to ask us.
Yep. This is a quasi-judicial, so any ex parte communications from any of the board members? Commissioner Hanson?
None.
Commissioner Pennington?
I've only spoke with recently with Chief, but it was strictly about the fire department, this fire station.
All right. Commissioner Richardson?
No.
And Commissioner Carney? No. And I've had none. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Simone.
All right, good evening, Commission. Simone Kenny, planner. Again, this is a request for a public use for the fire station at 245 County Road 305. So this is located on a piece of property that the county currently owns at the corner of County Road 305 and State Highway 100. Currently on the property, there is an existing 13,000 square foot barn located to the south, as well as a cell tower in the southeast corner. The future land use is agriculture and timberlands. The zoning is agricultural. There's no particular flood hazard being located in flood zone X, and the soils are primarily Wabasso fine sands and Pinedo-Wabasso complex. And according to the National Wetlands Inventory, there are no wetlands in the scope of the project. And then I included the red box to outline the project location among the much larger property. So this is the site plan that was submitted. There are 2 proposed access ways, one driveway to the south, which would be in and out, 2-way traffic, and then the exit to the north, which would be a 1-way exit only. There would be do not enter signs posted there. There's proposed 23 parking spaces, with 3 of those being at the front of the building by the satellite sheriff's office. Once traffic comes in through the parking area, the flow will become 1-way, and then egress will only be through the bays in the fire station or through that sort of bypass to the north, which goes by the water storage and loading area where the trucks will be loaded. Additionally, there's a maintained access to the existing barn to the south there, primarily because an additional driveway access isn't necessarily needed. And then in the southwest corner, we have the proposed dumpster location, as well as the septic location. And then just to the east there is a future building pad. We spoke with the architect and the designers. That is primarily there just in case there are extra funds in the budget. They would like to do something like a barbecue or a grill for the firemen. But we asked that they had labeled that as future building, so they wouldn't have to come in with a full site plan resubmittal just to add something like that. And then to the north is the stormwater retention area. And then this is the interior floor plan. It's not a required submittal for a public use application, but it was included. And so there are the 3 fire engine bays, and then there's the sheriff's satellite office at the front of the building, in this case, front being the bottom of the picture, north being to the left-hand side. So there's a proposed small satellite sheriff's office. There are 6 dorms, which I believe sleep 2 firemen each. In addition to cooking and eating facilities, as well as a fitness room, 2 offices, laundry facilities, and a decontamination room.
Can we stop here for just a minute on this particular one? Maybe I'll bring it up for commissioner comment. I'll just save it for my comment. I just have some discussion about the substation, which is not really relative to why we're doing 9A, so I'll bring it up in there.
And then here are the elevations, the rear elevation being at the top and the front elevation being on the bottom, where you can see the engine bays as well as that sort of front door access to that sheriff substation. And then here's their submitted landscape plan. There are no existing protected trees on the site. And because the zoning is agricultural, they're exempted from our shade tree requirements, but they did comply with our buffer landscape requirements along County Road 305, as well as our interior planting requirements in the vehicular use area. All right, so to summarize, again, the parcel is about 26 acres in total. It was purchased by the county in 2017. There is that existing barn and cell tower. The intent of the application, of course, is to provide better fire access and reduce response times to the western part of the county. At this point, I believe, and I could be corrected, that the closest fire station is currently Station 71, which is about 4 miles south in the St. John's Park neighborhood. So again, the site plan includes a just under 15,000 square foot station with 3 bays, 6 dorms, 2 office spaces, the fitness room, kitchen and eating facilities, decontamination room, and satellite sheriff's office. There's the water storage loading area to the north, 23 total parking spaces, as well as the septic well dumpster and future building pad to the east. And then again, to reiterate, the 2 driveway access points, the one to the south being in and out, and the one to the north being exit only, again with do not enter signs. And then finally, the access to the existing barn is preserved. And then I did want to just reiterate that although the zoning is the zoning and future land use are ag and timberlands and agricultural, this public use application and the approval of it potentially is what allows these public facilities to be built in those land use and zoning designation. And so your options as the board are to approve the request for public use for Fire Station 51 at 245 County Road 305, or you can deny the request, or you can continue the request to a time and date certain. With that, I will close out, awaiting any questions or comments from the board, and submit my report for the record.
Thank you. One quick question. A lot of the fire stations on a road like 305 they'll have a flashing light for emergency whenever the trucks, so it'll come on as the alarms are sounded and everything to stop traffic. Does that include that?
I don't believe so.
It's not a flashing light.
It's more than it used to be.
It's not a flashing light. It's an actual stoplight.
Pardon me?
It's an actual stoplight.
Right.
That's what it is, not a
But it
flashing light.
blinks, I think, when it's not red, right? Or is
No,
it-
it's just
no?
a stoplight, and
Okay.
they hit a button and it goes red.
I didn't know if it was a requirement, I guess, was the question that we might want to ask the site.
We fight with the state to get those put in, and it takes years to get them put in. We're still fighting the one out on the A1A.
So I believe there's the blinking stoplight at the intersection to the south of 305 and
302.
302, thank you. But at this point, there is not one proposed for the fire trucks pulling out of the station, if that's what you're
Yeah, I guess the
asking.
question would be, again, it's not with the public use, so don't have to worry about it, but as you go back to the engineer, I'm curious if they're required as part of current updated codes, and if that is something that the chief thinks is something that should be added.
Should be easier because it's a county road, not a state road. So it should be easier to do if
Right.
we want to do it.
We will double check that.
Okay.
I have a comment. I was going to save it, but if you'll go to the next page, I think. And this is just an ask for the board to consider. So this was the sheriff's substation supposed to be here. And I think that they were involved in this, but I want, if there's a consensus here, to kind of go back to the sheriff's office and just confirm with them that that space is sufficient for a substation, just because I'm thinking forward, it's 300 feet, so it's square feet, I think, roughly. It's this little front room in the front. That's actually an entrance on the side. It's not I thought maybe it was a conference table. It's an entrance. And then the janitor closet. And the fitness room is 3 times the size of the substation. And it's going to be staffed with 2 full-time people out there, up to 6 one day. And when we're talking about all the growth and substations that are going to have to come into areas, I just want to make sure that we're involved in this, and I want to make sure that that's sufficient room for a sheriff's office substation. Because I know out there the Hidden Trails was never really sufficient because it was supposed to be a substation there, but they don't use it. And I've heard from those guys out there, it's just not sufficient. I don't know what sufficient means to the sheriff's office, but I want to ensure that that is the adequate size for a substation in that area since we don't have anything. I don't know how others feel about that, but.
How far along are we on the building design?
Well, I don't want to.
I believe they're.
I think your design, you're beyond changing it at this point.
That's what I was thinking.
But I think it's a false pretense of saying it's a substation. When we brought this project forward initially, we talked about giving them an office so that they could meet with the public if necessary. It's not envisioned that you're going to have 2 deputies sitting out here. They only have, I believe, 2 people assigned to the west side that typically drive around. This was intended that if they had to meet with somebody in the public, they could have a safe location to meet the public, write reports. They'd have access to restrooms. If they wanted to eat a meal with the fire department, I know that we talked about it in the past with Chief Strobridge about having something like that. It's not a substation like you see in Palm Coast where they're offering fingerprinting services or they're offering, VIN verifications or things like that. It's not that substation. This is a safe place for them to meet the public, where they can come in, get off the road, rather than meet them in the parking lot somewhere. And every fire station that we envision moving forward, and I believe this was at the sheriff's request, would have something similar. It doesn't mean that maybe in the future, as the community grows, that the sheriff may want something like what they have in Palm Coast out there, but for now, this is what we were intending to give them.
Yeah, so are they engaged beforehand on these plans, or they just told in general that they'll have a room? Is that what?
I don't know what interaction has taken place, whether it be through engineering or through fire rescue. I know that initially when we brought this forward at our public meetings, we've mentioned this, so I don't know like I said, what input they've provided through the process. I'd have to ask staff.
Well, as we look to Cody's Corner area for the future fire station, we should really talk at that point about a real substation. Just trying to get the most efficiency out of these fire departments, because there's going to be a lot of growth in that area, I think. That's what they're telling us. And so, at least out there. But I just want to make sure that they're involved in these discussions and that they don't get another useless room, if we're here and doing it. So I just want to make sure that they're engaged.
Yeah, and I'm sure in the faster growing counties, and we're one of them, a public safety department is very, it's becoming very popular. And, I know it's too late on this, but if the population's growing enough, this is not a replacement fire department. This is a additional fire department, right? Based on population or growth?
We're moving Espanola out here.
So you're moving one to here. So as the growth goes, so goes the need for fire, rescue, and police. So I think moving down, as we start to grow out, like the fire chief said earlier, I think your future model is going to be a public safety department or public safety building. Why build 2 when you can build 1 and get it right the first time? So with growth is going to come a different look or a different model to public safety. And I think, like Commissioner Pennington said, the sheriff should weigh in. I mean, why would we build 2 buildings when we only need 1 or 1 expanded building? But that's just for the future. I understand where we are with this particular building, but moving forward, we probably do need to get more public service.
I have a question. Does that take up the whole parcel?
Oh, no.
No,
No,
it's a much
right.
smaller, just like that red area.
Okay, so there's plenty of room to build on in the future, correct? So if the police needs a police station, that could probably be a whole service corner of first responders, right? So that would support them all. To me, that looks like a meeting room. If you want to, we used to have a room that transferred divorced parents, where there was a violent situation where one had, so we had that where on the corner over here, where parents could pick up the children, drop them off there, that type of a thing. So that'll have a multi-purpose facility right there. I don't know what was involved, and, again, I'm sure the sheriff might have some idea. I can't imagine that he doesn't, but on the other hand, we want to make sure we have enough protection out there for the people that are there. But there's room to build on to this. Okay, that's what my question was. Thank you.
We didn't have the engineer here for comment or anything, did we?
Not the consultant
Right.
on the engineer, but just the engineering department who's
Okay.
managing the project.
All right. So your presentation is it?
Mhm.
Okay, good. Anybody from the public? I'll open up for public comment. Anybody wish to comment on the public use for this parcel? All right, seeing them, we'll close public comment, bring it back to the board. Any other questions for staff or Simone? Okay. Anybody want to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we designate this parcel as public use.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Hanson, seconded by Commissioner Carney. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Simone.
Thank you.
Item 9B, legislative request to approve and adopt the Flagler County Executive Airport Zoning Regulations Ordinance on second reading.
And Mr. Chair, I'm going to take this item as the Growth Management Director is on a well-deserved vacation. This is the second reading of this ordinance. Since your first consideration of it 2 weeks ago, we made some minor changes. Commissioner Carney, you had requested that we make the airport zoning administrator the growth management director in that department, so that change has been made. In addition, at the request of the city of Palm Coast, we put in there an administrative appeal process so that if someone is upset with a decision, they don't run straight to the court, but there's some avenue to try to work things out before litigation is started. So that was a great suggestion. And also that they be given notice of any approvals or denials of permits for that affect their jurisdiction. So those changes were made. The other things remain the same. As you recall, this is an ordinance that requires the permitting of structures that are defined as obstructions under the federal standards. Those are things like cell towers or very tall buildings that could interfere with the flight paths of airplanes. In addition, it prohibits any new landfills within 10,000 feet of the airport. It prohibits things from being built at the very ends of the runways, those runway protection zones. And it also addresses the noise, which is, as you know, a very hot topic. We hear a lot about that. The noise contours are what the ordinance points to. Those are in the airport layout plan, which in turn is part of the master plan. That master plan will be going through a process of updating starting this summer. So those noise contours will also be updated based on a updated study. And at that time, once that's approved by the FAA, they become our official new noise contours. And within those contours, you can't have new residences or schools unless there's somehow some mitigation. If you'd like me to comment on anything else, like some of the things that you hear from the public, I can tell you what this ordinance does not do is regulate airplanes that are in flight. The gentle lady spoke earlier and said, why can't we just have flight schools fly over the ocean? And sounds reasonable. However, this Board of County Commissioners is preempted by the federal government, and we have no authority to control where they fly once they are off the ground. So this ordinance does not control the flight patterns of flight schools or anybody else. It's really about the compatibility of land uses around the airport and hazards to flight.
And is not stopping anybody from rebuilding any home in Palm Coast.
Correct.
That was a misconception that this was,
Yes,
if
that-
something happened to somebody's home, they would not be able to rebuild. There's none of those areas exist
Right.
in the city of
The
Palm.
noise contours fall within within the airport property. So all the homes that are in Palm Coast in the Quail Hollow area or Seminole Woods, should a fire or a hurricane or some sort of disaster strike, they would be able to rebuild. Or if they have a vacant lot, you can build a home there. This ordinance will not prevent that.
Right. Okay. Thank you. All right. At this time, I'll open this issue up for public comment. If anybody would like to address the commission on item 9B.
Where do I start? All right. I said earlier, I contacted FAA, and it told me as far as the flight school, it was up to them in the end. They could decide where they were going. It's just, it's still not right for us. I'm short of words. I can't understand that thing. It's so simple. Why do you impose that noise? Oh, the study about the noise. This is right at the airport. This is not over our houses that they're going to do the study. It's in the airport when they take off and when they land. Well, we live across the street a little bit farther, and I happen to have a house that was built 3 years ago, so the insulation is better than some of my friends who've been there for 20 years. So I don't hear it as much when I'm inside the house, but I can't be on my phone outside. Sometimes it's noisy, and it has nothing to do with the taking off and landing. It's just, the study to me, it's fake. It doesn't mean anything to us, and we live there. It's just, who is going to be on our side? Who is going to defend the resident? That's the point. The flight school, they could, why in the world did the flight school land there and they authorize after that building of that house all around? It doesn't make sense. At some point, somebody has to be able to say, we made a mistake, we're going to fix it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next comment, please.
Anna Jones, Z section. I oppose this overlay. An navigation easement is the right of said aircraft to cause noise, vibrations, fumes, deposits of dust, fuel, particles, incidental to normal operation of aircraft, fear, interference with sleep or communication, and any other effects associated with the normal operation of aircraft taking off, landing, or operating in the vicinity of an airport. But this is an airport protection overlay zone. This is an unconstitutional taking of our private property. This is more than the height of cell towers. You can see, these get changed. You have to dig and dig for what you're doing here. And to tell me you think that you know what these regulations are, hundreds of pages, you're supposed to have the noise study first and an environmental impact, and you just said you're going to have one in the summer? everything is changes to when we bring it up or we give up real questions. And you did not answer my previous about the flight schools. 0 lead is okay. I know the lead levels of your test. I did my own. There is lead from these flight schools. And the noise is damaging. It's very damaging in your property, private property. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. And thank you for your patience. Yes, sir.
Bruce Jones, Palm Coast resident as well. I just want to address the this ordinance. It looks like when you look at the ordinance itself and you're reviewing what's in it, that there's a little bit of confusion in the way it's written. So, for example, it talks about an airport noise zone where you are, and in a notification that you actually have to notify if you're putting your house up for sale or whatever. But there, on the map, there is no airport noise zone. There's something that's labeled 65 decibels. So I would encourage you, if that's what that polygon is, that's 65, to actually label that as the airport noise zone, because it isn't on the figure. And when you look at the table that's in the proposal too, it actually gives you definitions of surface area, primary area, and so forth. And it would be good to clear that up, because then you're going to get fewer comments about, hey, you're going to take my land away. I'm not going to be able to plant a garden or whatever. I've heard a lot of comments. And a lot of that comes just from not knowing what these zones are. So something in plain English, one page, what it does and doesn't do. So if you're in one of the horizontal zones, you've got 150-foot start where you can't have any structures. And I understand that the ordinance is really around protecting safety and structures and so forth. But it would be good to have a list of things for people to look at and say, here's what it is and isn't. And so it's just as important to say what it isn't. It isn't going to be something you're going to be required to notify somebody that you're in a zone when you're selling your house, right? So it's got to be specific, and I'd like to see that in detail so that we know what we're doing. That is a problem. And the other thing is, and I mentioned this last time, is I really would like to see better outreach in the process. I know you met the statutory regs for, 2 weeks in a paper, but I spent 18 years working in the federal government with EPA, working on sorted notices and public hearings and so forth. And it always, when you have a controversial subject, it's always better to get a lot of input and to go beyond just that. And Andy, on the lead thing, I'm just going to bring this up quickly, is that the approach they used was an 8-hour grab sample on a windy day. And that's good for OSHA requirements and occupational health. But the preferred method by the EPA for long-term exposure is a 3-month rolling sample. And so, and given what I saw on the end of the runway on the north end and the wind direction, which was coming, where the planes would actually come and go into the wind, it's not a surprise that the levels would be higher on the 100. So I would urge you to take a look at that in more detail. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hello again. Is it okay if I give you a copy of this before I start?
Sure. Make sure the clerk gets one too. Is it just one copy?
But I've already emailed all of you that what I just handed to you. It's a notice of complaint in reference to the serious oversights of the airport zoning regulations ordinance. As I pointed out in my emails to you and comments, for the past few months, we believe that the required legal notice to residents of Bunnell and Palm Coast were not properly noticed. The hearings of the airport zoning regulations by the required airport zoning committee, failing to provide potential local residents the ability to learn about and have an opportunity to be heard on the zoning changes that may have the capacity to infringe on their property rights. The February 11th notice did not give any mention of Airport Zoning Commission as required. The March 11th was not notarized when it was put in the paper, if it was put in the paper at all, because all the other notifications have a notarized authenticity guarantee. That one does not. And the first notice, 311, was not even on that notice. That date didn't appear on the notification. I realize that the airport zoning regulation is a condition of airport funding, but I do not agree moving forward with an ordinance that did not provide a proper opportunity for community involvement and comment by the way of inadequate notice. There are no current noise maps, no noise studies, only outdated contours and maps based off of modeling, not factual or substantial corroborating evidence. Airport zoning regulations have been mandated since at least 2008. I believe it's most prudent to put this on hold until current and actual noise testings and contours, as well as the airport master plan, is explained and presented. It is not transparent, ethical, or consistent with public interest without this information, as the ordinance is written may potentially affect our property rights, invoke inverse condemnation, our home values, the insurability of our homes, and we deserve to have adequate opportunity to gather all of the facts and full disclosure and have compatibility and noise issues which are required, properly identified and addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hey, how you doing? Raymond Royer from Painters Hill. I come from an area from Allentown, Pennsylvania. We went through this same controversy probably in the 80s when they wanted to upgrade the airport. It's more of a commercial airport, but there was no noise issues and pollution issues. Well, they moved forward, and a Philadelphia lawyer came up and sued, and he won for the citizens. So in result, for mitigation, we had to do over 100,000 homes. We had to insulate them, put new AC in, windows, re-roof, to try to impact the homes that were being implemented by the noise. Most of these homes that were really affected, and I worked on some of these homes, and I never knew they were available, but I guess Sears used to sell homes that were, you could buy them, and they were actually metal studs and everything. And those are the ones that really took the noise in. Now, I don't think we have any of those around here, but again, a lot of these homes are older, and again, your airport's growing. So I'm gonna ask the lawyer to make sure you got all your ducks in the water, because if the citizens get a good attorney, and I've read the master plan, and you're talking about kind of ditching the master plan of 2009 and bringing a new one after the fact that you approve it, I think you're putting the horse out of the, the cart against the horse. So I would tell you to be careful on this one, because I mean, two counties got sued. Lehigh County and Northampton County got sued, with the state helping to pay for this cost, because the counties couldn't afford it. And it was in the multi-millions of dollars to refurbish all that. And I'm talking about, it was like 100,000 homes that they had to, refabricate. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right, did you want to, were there any additions or clarifications we needed to make from public comment?
I would just say for the record that we published the affidavit of notice. This hearing was noticed as required by statute, as was your first hearing. I believe the comment you heard was on the mistaken premise that we had to notice the planning board. The statute does, as the Airport Zoning Commission, the statute does not require that. Rather, we defer to the normal rules of sunshine law, which is we publish our agenda. And so we met those requirements. You also, because I know this has been brought up, you appointed the planning board to be the Airport Zoning Commission before your first hearing, and that is what is required by the statute. If, and I put this in my memo to you, if you were to believe that we should have an additional hearing at the Airport Zoning Commission level, that is the planning board, you, by all means, can send it back to them for another hearing. And that would be based on the fact of the wording of the statute that says the zoning commission shall have public hearings on its initial report. So no problem there. However, I do want to point out there's been ample opportunity for the public to comment. As you well know, we've been hearing it. Also, the statute does not require you, County Commission, to have 2 hearings to adopt this ordinance. So we did an extra hearing beyond what was required by statute in front of this body.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And I believe that for me, it's extremely important that we went that extra process with the 2 public hearings at the commission level, which is where the authority lies in approving or disapproving. I know we've taken that step in the past on contentious issues or ones where we thought we needed to spend additional time. So I think we did the right thing in granting the additional time with the 2 public hearings, the first and second reading. All right, so public comments closed. It's
Can
back.
I
To
just make a comment?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the next step.
For Mr. Jones's comment, maybe you did not see it, but the last page of our 1,053 pages, there is a what this does and what this does not do. I'm not going to read it, but what this ordinance does, darn it, hold on. What the Flagler County Executive Airport Zoning Regulation Ordinance does, there's several bullet points, and then what the Flagler Executive Airport Zoning Regulation Ordinance does not do. So there is a public record document out there. We might need to fix it up a little bit, but it is out there. Okay. Okay. And could we get a verification to the statement about how our lead monitoring was established versus the way Mr. Jones suggested it be monitored? So the way we did it, I don't remember the study. I remember the gentleman giving the study. I don't know what his technology,
They were soil borings.
They were soil borings?
So I'm not sure if...
We can't have comments from, it's okay.
Okay. All right. So could we verify, we don't
Mr.
have to do it
Singer,
right
he knows
now.
more about
We
that.
don't
Do
have
you
to
wanna
do it
get
right
back to you
now.
on that?
Could we verify that another method for testing lead is using a 3-month rolling test? Okay. And could we also look at the table that Mr. Jones was talking about and allocate zones or give better terminology to the zones on the tables?
Yes, and that is a good suggestion. One thing I know that when we're going to go through this process of updating the master plan and doing the updated noise study, that we're going to put a lot more attention on that aspect.
Correct.
Because, it has become an issue since years ago when we did the first master plan.
And that was the only comment I wanted to make, Chair, is this is a first This is updating something. It's an ordinance. It's subject to be changed. It can be changed. We have to put some legs on it, but it can be changed. If our master plan or business plan or our layout changes, we can change this ordinance to reflect any other changes that we need. Well, it's an ordinance. We can. That's what we're here for. I think the navigation easement, I don't get that at all, but it's okay. We'll have time to talk through that. And those were just the 2 things or 3 things that I wanted to bring out.
For now, Commissioner Carney, I'll tell you that federal law allows airplanes to fly below 500 feet when landing and taking off because they have to get to and from the ground. But there are also navigation easements that are out there. So, maybe we need to sit down and look at them. I remember we had one when we were going through I believe it was the BJ's parcel. And behind that building, the store, they had a height limit on what they could do because of a navigation easement. So there are navigation easements out there in addition to that federal law that allows the airplanes to go below 500 feet when landing and taking off.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments for Mr. Moylan? Okay, thank you, Mr. Moylan. All right, I'll bring it back for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve and adopt the Flagler County Executive Airport Zoning Regulations Ordinance.
I have a motion by Commissioner Hanson,
Second.
second by Commissioner Pennington. If there's no other questions or comments, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries unanimously.
I think, Mr. Chairman, though, that there were some good comments there that we should look at, like clarifying one of those tables, as you brought up, and I think that's a worthwhile drill that we need to go through and do that.
Don't disagree. I think those points were taken by Mr. Moylan. Okay. All right, we'll move on to additional reports. County Administrator.
I've got nothing to report, sir.
All right.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Tito, can you give us an update on the beachfront funding plan and with the cities? I'm curious about where we are and getting agreement with them on this, how we're going to fund it. I mean, are we dead in the water, or is it moving along, or what's happening on that?
I wouldn't say that it's dead in the water. I had mentioned it at the last meeting that we had, that staff was working on interlocal agreements based on the guidance that we had received by the board and in conjunction with the cities of what they had heard from their elected as far as how they would like to see that structured. We planned on going back to them sometime in May, June timeframe to work with them on adopting the interlocal agreements based on, the board's direction. We have a meeting, I believe, is it Wednesday, I think, with the TDC to talk about the use of the TDT, the Tourist Development Tax, for the beaches. And then we have an upcoming workshop on May 5th to talk about the beach funding here as a board. The thought is based on that, we would then, come back to the cities with their interlocal agreements.
So what's holding it up? What's your major stumbling block here?
It was probably the direction or comments that I received at the last meeting when I talked about what I was doing, that I wanted to make the board aware of it, but there was comments made that put it on pause until we meet on May 5th.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So it's kind of a chicken, which comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah,
So-
that's my problem with this.
So I think based on some of the comments, like Ms. Petito said, is let's have this conversation the first week, the first meeting, and so we can, first we were going to get the cities to approve them and come back, but with some questions up here, I think the cities deserve to know where we stand before
Right.
we come back to
Exactly.
them. So I think that's where we left it, was we're going to have that conversation up here and be more definitive before we go back. I think the cities are anxious to get them in front of them. I've heard positive comments from the cities.
Yeah, so have I. I've got very positive comments.
We'll have, we've got another 2 weeks to get ready for the meeting in May and
Right.
talk about the funding plan.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments for Ms. Petito? Before I
didn't
pass
have
it
any.
on to Sean.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Moylan.
No report from me.
Okay. I'll open it back up for community outreach. If there's anybody from the community with final comments to the board.
There was 7K.
State your name again for the record, please.
Chantal Pröninger.
Thank you.
7K is pretty interesting. Consideration of support resolution for Executive Office of the Governance Department of Governmental Efficiency Task Force. Request the board approve the support resolution to actively participate in a comprehensive review conducted by the EOG DOJ team to identify and eliminate unnecessary and inappropriate spending. And that was requested by Heidi. Thank you. The reason why not more people show up here is because they don't trust you. And I really encourage you. I mean, first of all, I was disappointed that you even didn't talk about it, but I encourage you to just go with it and regain the trust of the people, because they're not going to vote for you again if you don't have their trust. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, David, please.
David Eckert, Calais del Sur. Over the last 2 weeks, Steve and I sent out a number of reports to you in preparation for the workshop today, as well as this meeting, and I'd like to congratulate you for what you've accomplished today. The 3-page report was just to prepare for the workshop. Action point 1 coming out of that was to just review the fact that after you've decided on the Moffett and Nickel study today, you greatly enhanced the ability for the Florida DEP to be able to understand the 110-page document that we reported, because that gets you additional money that can substitute into the funding plan that was going forward. And you remember that we had 2 aspects of the funding plan, about $8.2 million for the northern barrier island and $12 million a year as the annual. So those were the 2 that were on the table. I think you correctly paused that process and asked some questions so that you would show. But in discussing and sending you material, I've not seen any of you pull back from the aspects of creating local funding at whatever is necessary to be able to do that. You're creating new options to be able to do that. And you have different ideas about options, but no one is shutting down the process of creating local matching funds. I see support from all of you to do that. So in public here, you can reflect that to each other if you choose. Now, first and foremost, the biggest thing that changes the aspects of what the funding plan means and whether it's going to be successful or not is what nature does. The destruction and the erosion that occurs is going to put all of these funding plans off of track as you go forward. Now, you should know that in the Moffett-Nichols study, that they actually have as one of their responsibilities, and you just approved the $1.9 million for them to do that, to not only work with us from a critically eroded beach designation, but also achieve the 50% funding match from the state by giving, so they would go on top of the report that we provided and drive that forward. So that would be a big deal to have 50% money from a perpetual standpoint anytime that we go forward. So the other thing that you learned today is the engineering presented their latest information relative to the schedule. I'm down to 14 seconds, but the point is that the engineering study and the new schedule plus that local funding need is exactly the work that can be done for the May 5th meeting, and we'll try to prepare and update this for you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Darlene Shelley, Palm Coast. Very disappointed in all of you for voting unanimously for what I've told you on the surface is unlawful and wasn't noticed properly. Ms. Carney, you said that you didn't understand what inverse condemnation didn't even come up, but that is what this will allow. It'll allow a further taking of our property. It also states in this ordinance that you just approved that any future changes to the airport, which is coming, we know, and is very overdue, almost 20 years that this should have been passed, just enough time for every developer in the county to get all of their incompatible homes around the airport that should never have been allowed in the first place. Had this airport zoning regulations been passed timely in 2008, as the airport guaranteed to do. Ms. Richardson says she doesn't even have time to read through the 1,500 pages that was in this preparation package. I did read through it, and I know what it says, and I know the ramifications that it has on our property rights. I know by looking at the airport master plan that their intention is to get even larger. 5,000 foot runway was the first extension, and that invited in 520 daily operations of training flight schools over our homes, taking our property, violating our rights, dumping hundreds of pounds of lead and toxic emissions on our schools and our children and our playgrounds, in our water, and that bogus excuse for lead testing in soil and air is a joke. It took him 2 minutes to present it. They tested 0 to 2 inches in the soil. Lead leaches. There's a leachability factor to it. There was no mention of that or any of the other 20 items that would appear on a real test for toxic materials. And these materials are poisoning our city, our county, our schools, our churches, our homes. It's a class action lawsuit that you will lose, and it's coming your way. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right, seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board. Commission reports, comments. I'll start off with a couple, and I'll end later with a couple things, but I wanted to bring something forward to see if there was consensus. We have, through Belvedere, our involvement in this is through legislation where we're written into the requirement to will be the agent to fund the purchase of the land. Palm Coast has made it pretty clear, and it was mainly targeted because Palm Coast can't do that due to their charter, and they made it pretty clear that they didn't want any more part of it, especially with the 4-to-1 vote thing. So I'm wondering if there's consensus for us to just inquire about removing ourselves from the legislation. I don't know what the process is or what it would be involved, but because I don't see us having land or being, nobody up here has stated publicly that we should be looking for county land.
No, I've done so much research. I don't think we have the ability to handle that type of operation just within public safety and type of land it requires, near bodies of water, et cetera. So I would be in favor of that.
Yeah, I think just in any talk of including us in this whole argument is moot. We're not going to.
I think
we're not participating.
I think we'll continue to get this until we are removed from that.
We're not participating in this.
So I wanted to find out what that process looks like.
This is the first time we've ever discussed it amongst ourselves. We've never talked about this. I don't know where all the news has been putting this out. I've never spoken to any of you about this, and it is what it is. So we're not involved in it at all, really, the way I see it.
Well, it's unfortunate we had a PR moment
PR
with
people.
it. We should not have had that because we had not met as a board
No.
to really go through all the. But that being said, I mean, I really would like to show that the board is considerate enough to attempt to extricate ourselves from this matter.
I agree.
Any other comments? So what would be the process to do that?
I see several ways. The grant agreement, now you have the appropriation that says the money needs to be spent in Brevard, Volusia, or Flagler counties. That doesn't mean the grant has to come to us necessarily. Right. So we could ask the Department of Commerce if they can just partner with a municipality who's able and willing, if there is such a municipality. If that's not a viable option, then I suppose we would ask our legislative delegation to amend. Now we're getting to the very end of the session,
Right.
So I don't know if it'll happen this year. And honestly, off the top of my head, sitting here, I don't know when that appropriation expires.
Okay, so I guess
But we can look into it.
We can look into that at
Yeah.
least. And from a public standpoint, at least having us come to that consensus is important, I think, for the public. So again, the rumors are spreading, so-and-so came to City Hall. So just to put that to bed, those types of things.
So
that
it
come
calls out Flagler County specifically?
Yes, the legislative appropriation, Brevard, Volusia, or Flagler County.
We
they're
can only
looking at-
speak for us, obviously, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would make sense to call it back.
Okay. And the only, I do appreciate the comment on 7K. We kind of just blew right over the Doge thing, but want to thank Ms. Petito for taking my thoughts seriously and helping put that together for your review. So I think it does build the trust. I mean, personally, I'm not afraid of anybody coming in here. Ms. Petito took the same stance. If somebody wants to come in, I think we've got great best practices that may be able to be utilized and shared as far as transparency goes. So with the current state that things are, I think again, we get that word out there. I'm going to follow up with a letter after tonight. I've drafted a letter to the governor that states our intention with a copy of the resolution. So.
I just hope it's not a standing piece of paper. I hope that something comes of it. I mean, there were a lot of whereases in that resolution, and I always look for action as a result of that. So if there is if there is some action or some project or whatever, maybe during the budgeting process, that falls into this, I'd like to know about it.
What's
So
interesting is what DOJ is doing for the federal government is they're looking at fraud. That's what they're looking. That's what they're looking at. So, we welcome that. Come on down and check us out. So.
But I think part of the next steps is the openness with the governor's office to be able to facilitate whatever that looks like. So, all right. Additional comments, Commissioner Hanson.
I have none, sir.
Commissioner Pennington.
I met with the SOE, and I'm assuming I'm not the only one who met with the SOE regarding growth, potential growth in that office. And so I thought maybe we could discuss really quick. I know for years we've heard from SOE and clerk, and I'm not asking to commit to doing this. What I'm asking is to give direction maybe to the administration to work with them on just trying to plan, whether it be giving them a piece of land that we can identify for them to dedicate in the future so they can plan around that piece of land, nothing near term, or looking back through their office to see if it could be reconfigured, just giving them the support necessary to start a process. Nothing, egregious, just can we work with the SOE and clerk to talk about expansion in the future for them, or identify a piece of land and so they have something to plan around, even if it's 5 years from now, 10 years out.
Who are we talking about specifically?
Supervisor of Elections office.
Okay. Yeah.
I also met with Supervisor of Elections, but also with Shelley in the tax collector's office, and they're also struggling
met with her,
for more space. And I think there's a solution here. We don't have to solve it today, but I think Leanne's right. Maybe just start. Let's start.
Getting them on the capital improvement
See if we
list.
can, get something going.
Seeing if there's some future project to reconfigure on our existing, or saying we have whatever land and they can start to do their planning around what would it cost to build and engineer on that land, particular piece of land, something that gives them direction. They're not even on our capital improvement list.
One of the things the supervisor had mentioned is the parking at the facility, and we have early voting, and we have that as a voting booth all the time. And there's no parking that's available once the staff comes in. It's a huge problem for them because they can't even get voters. They have to take them as a drive-by, which is not really the best situation.
Well, since you brought it up, I'll say my suggestions to the SOE didn't involve any additional land or any construction other than turning the parallel parking to 90 degree so we can get some additional parking within what we already have and doing an architectural space study within their own place because they have a lot of dead space.
We talked about that.
We need to push it forward so that they can get help from staff on planning. Whether it be they're staying in their existing, whatever it is.
And there's a hallway that doesn't even.
I know, it doesn't make any sense. And there's a space behind her with picnic tables that maybe can be extended out. Just giving them the help they need to start planning, so that if they need a capital project,
on the long-range plan is where it starts.
That's right. That's it. Just a consensus to push it forward so she can get, because she's been trying, I think, since 2020. Her emails look like, and she just really needs. Yeah.
Ms. Petito.
If I could, we do have her on the unfunded for capital projects, so it is on there. It's on our radar. We recognize that there is probably maybe not the best utilization of space. We've had to cut up our section of the building to accommodate the growth and make it a little bit more efficient as we operate. I had offered that to the supervisor of elections, that we would look at that and try to optimize the space. Last week, I actually talked to Katie again. It was Thursday. I was made aware of a property potentially that is close by, that is coming on the market for sale. It is commercial property. that would allow for maybe the creation of another site. I look internally at ourselves. We don't have enough space. IT is pretty much homeless. I mean, they operate out of 4 different locations. So I think, we look at the size of this building, we probably outgrew it when we moved in because we were making changes back then. So I think that if we can acquire land relatively close to the campus here, it would probably make sense to purchase it for future growth. I did mention it to Katie. I think it's premature for me to mention it here, but since you brought it up, there are wetlands on the property. I've asked for a copy of the wetland delineation so that we could take a look at what it would cost for mitigation. So it's a little premature for me to talk about it right now, but it is something we've been working towards, and I did have a conversation with Katie last Thursday, so.
Well, wetland delineations change after 20 years too, so.
This was recent work that was done.
Okay.
So I'm just waiting for a copy so we can have our staff take a look at it.
Okay. All right. All done? Commissioner Carney?
Sure. I did attend the Flagler Palm Coast Affordable Housing Fair, and I have the T-shirt to prove it. You know how that commercial? I get the T-shirt. I just want to say thank you to everyone that worked on that. I know, is Joe still here? No. Our staff and Palm Coast, for sure, did a very professional, well-organized, and very consumer-focused event. There were several events related to Easter and Easter egg hunts happening on the same day, so there was a few conflicts, but overall, I think it's a good program. I think that we should continue to support that. I will not be at AHAC this week, next week, sorry, no. Is it tomorrow? I won't be there tomorrow, but I just want to go ahead and give a shout out now while I can. I also would like to talk a little bit about the attorney search that we talked about during our workshop. I do personally believe that the time frame is very, very tight. I don't think 1 or 2 weeks is going to help us unless this ideal situation comes together. So my question is, if there's no one actively contracted before August 1st, do we appoint Sean? Can we do like a interim or?
Absolutely.
So we can do that as a board? Okay. We don't need to do it ahead of time or? So Sean is working with Al right now, I'm assuming, to see his projects and what's going on.
Yes.
He's including you in a lot of that.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, great. I just wanted to confirm that. We kind of jumped right to the hiring process, and I just wanted to see what right now looks like and what we would have to do to either keep Al or appoint you or somebody as an acting until we get it all worked out. Great. Thank you. Following my comments at the last meeting, I got a little bit of press on the funding for the beach. And I just want to let people know, especially my counterparts in Flagler Beach, that in no way am I against any type of funding plan. I fully understand my obligation and what is required of the county to get this massive problem dealt with. My problem and my request was for alternate funding plans as opposed to a half-cent sales tax. So I just want that on the books because, like I say, I got punched around a little bit on social media, but at no time will I ever let down Flagler Beach or the beach project. That's all I have.
Ms. Richardson?
I don't have much to say. What Kim said, though, was very valid. I'd like to see us have some time to choose the attorney, make sure we pick the right one rather than the rush that we've been talking about earlier. So thank you for adding that. And I guess because we sat next to each other, I got in the picture too. So I just think that we have to stop negativity on social media or stop paying attention to it. It's not right. And if you want respect, we have to treat everybody with respect. So I'm just gonna fly right over the rainbow on that one and believe that we're all in a positive mode now. And I thank everybody. And that's all I got to say. No more of what I did. I'm not telling anybody what I did this week.
Okay. All right, I'm going to come back to a couple points, having heard a couple things. So let's talk about the funding plan and our move forward. We were going to bring this back to an up and down vote on the next meeting in May. And if there's consensus to spend more time on, if there's a consensus that we just haven't found the right funding or people aren't comfortable with the right funding formula yet, then we can give staff some additional time, I believe, to work on those options other than calling the vote immediately. So my concern, I think in the concern earlier, was that we didn't have a plan to present to the cities, and the cities rightly expect us to be able to stipulate what our plan is when we ask for their the ILA. So just discuss a little bit out loud, what do you want to happen over the next month or month and a half with the funding plan? If we think that we are supportive of the action of funding the master plan, but some of us just haven't found the right comfort zone with the funding and wants to do some additional research, that's one thing. And we can accommodate that to get to an acceptable point. So if that's the case, then let's give staff that additional time and we can put off an immediate vote on the current funding plan. Because that's the direction from last time, is the first meeting in March, we were going to bring the current funding plan to a vote, so that in May, my apologies. So just let's talk that through a little bit on what we may want to see change in the funding plan, and if you're okay with giving staff some additional time to work on that, or do you want to bring this to the table at the next meeting and have that discussion then?
So I met with Mrs. Petito personally, one-on-one, and I expressed my concerns. I then brought ideas. Everything I bring forward, quote, cannot be done. So I asked that staff bring something else forward. I don't know what it is. I've not gotten anything. We saw today at our workshop that we don't even know what month, year, date it's all going to happen. I'm not convinced that Reach 4 is ready for funding. I just don't believe overtaxing citizens of Flagler County on a project that is not well defined. It's going to happen. I get that it's going to happen. I did math. I can see where the $9 million per mile comes in. I can see that. I can get to that. Dave and Steve's numbers, they worked out. I have not talked with Ainsley yet about the maintenance part and how we're getting to the maintenance. I just think we're over revenuing this project. I stated earlier today, and I'll state it forever, I'm not convinced that FDOT is contributing what they can or what our ability to negotiate. I did hear today, which I'm glad to hear, that I didn't know, was that Washington Oaks is going to be 100% funded. I just don't feel all the collaboration and cooperation on this size of a project. I hear Let's throw a half a cent tax out there, generate revenue, and if we don't need it, we can't pull back a half a cent sales tax. We can't pull it back. That's my problem. Give me some other options besides throw out a half cent sales tax. I just think there's other options. I know there are. I just don't know what they are because my ideas are no good. So I got to let staff bring it to me. And I will suggest to you that I made this perfectly clear over a month and a half ago. So if you need another month, you got it. But I've got nothing. I've seen nothing. And that's where I am with it. I just don't believe the half-cent sales tax should be the only option.
Okay. So my thoughts in hearing all this is we've got a long-term commitment in renourishment, not just construction. So I think the long-term funding plan in my eyes is the half cent providing the 20-year renourishment portion of that, besides some of the needs for construction. We've got a lot of money set aside for construction. We can construct, how far can we construct through the second reach? And then we've got some other commitments. What were the other commitments for the future reaches? We've got the agreement now with at least emergency sand for Hammock Dunes.
So it's two different projects, the emergency versus the
Right.
long-term construction. So looking at the long-term fix, or the construction piece, we'll call it, you have funding for Reach 2. You do not have funding for Reach 3 and 4, and that's the 3 years that we were coming up with using the a portion of the current half cent. This is the conversation that we need to have with tourism this week.
Right.
So if we stick to that plan, we can finish constructing Reach 3 and potentially whatever's going to be needed on 4. The challenge comes in with maintaining it and not having money at the local level to cover the grant or the matches. So when you go through FEMA and you have Cat B or Cat G approval, you still need to have 12.5% at the local level. We don't have that. And then you're going to need money at the local level for those periodic renourishments. We don't have that. So the money that we were trying to capture is to cover that ongoing maintenance and to provide money at the local level so that we have money available when we have the 12.5%. Because like right now, we had set aside $5 million in the current budget, but you've got 2.2 going out for a portion of it, and then another portion of it will be used when we roll out those FEMA Cat G projects. So that's going to cut into the $5 million that we set aside, which means when we start looking at the calculation of what do we need then over the next 3 years, we'd already accounted for that $5 million. So now we have to recapture whatever we're spending as part of the budget, plus bring back whatever we need for the construction.
So part of why I wanted to make sure we had time to review with TDC was we may have additional questions through the TDC members that may actually add clarity or provide some other thoughts that we hadn't necessarily thought of or options. So I think we make it through TDC and listen to the TDC board members so that we can add that to, the data set we're building.
So just a question. On the diagram from today, it says BOCC 2.2 million, Fund 1111 and 1311. So why is that cutting into the 5 million?
Because that's where the 5 million is sitting. Part of it is in your 111 fund, I believe was the tourism beach account, and then the other portion is in your half cent.
Where's the 5 million that the original funding plan said it's coming from the general fund? Where's that 5 million?
Nothing was coming from the general fund. It was the initial 5 million that was set aside in this budget was you had a makeup of, I believe it was 3 million from one pot of money and 2 million from the other. I thought it was, and I'd have to go back and just verify. I thought it was 3 million out of half cent, 2 million out of the tourist development.
That's correct.
Yep.
That's what it was. That's the current half cent,
Okay, so then,
not the new half cent.
so my other challenge is I contacted the Army Corps of Engineers and asked them for all the Florida current projects and their intervals. And their interval for Flagler County is 11 years. Brevard County is 3 years. There's three portions of Brevard County. It ranges from 3 to 6 years. Broward County is 6. Dade is 10. Duval is 4. Flagler is 11. Fort Pierce is 2. Lee County is 22. Manatee is 9. Martin is 8. Nassau is 5. So on and so forth. It's all here. St. Lucie is 18. So we bring in a consultant that says it's closer to 6, but our program and our contract with the Army Corps is for 11. And as stated earlier, Mother Nature is going to determine what our interval is. We haven't even lived through one interval, not even a year yet. So I think our interval is very conservative, if not more. Anyway, it's okay. I mean, just bring the vote whenever you want to bring the vote, but I don't see the math working. I think it's overtaxing. That's where I am. I don't know where the rest of the people are, but I don't see it as the only option that we have.
What would, asking back to Ms. Petito, what would be the recommendation from here? Do we, would it be helpful if we got at least from the commission, if we got the ILAs and pursued the ILAs so that you had that information in your hip pocket and the support from the other communities? Does that help you or not? Okay. I'm just trying to think of a timeline that we can address, have staff follow from some type of timeline so that they can work toward either developing, I guess they can do both, but develop some additional potential options when we bring it back, but also bring the ILAs to Bunnell and the other cities, so we have as much information for you to review when we do need to call the question. Because I think there's a lot of, I think there is support within the other jurisdictions, and some of that may get clarified if we actually bring it to them, the ILAs to them first. But that may be an internal discussion you have to see if that's all right. Mr. Salinas?
It's not working. Oh, are you asking, I'm just trying to get clarification. Are you asking whether we should go to the municipalities and go through the ILA process and bring it back to the board? Because I do believe that might be an issue for if I was sitting in their shoes to get this approved and not know what the vote is going to be here in the commissioner. Because if they get that approved over there and gets denied here, they're going to be expending this political capital on something that it was not worth it. So I think we have to be cautious from that perspective.
And if I could talk about just a little bit about the half-cent sales tax, that's a rather elegant method to fund this because it does not raise taxes. And any other solution that we have is going to actually cause the ad valorem tax bill to go up. Any other solution. And I don't believe there is another solution out there.
Well, for clarity, it does raise taxes on things people buy.
But not on food, not on medicine.
Right.
Only so much of a
Right.
car.
Just, I had to
That-
clarify it, otherwise it's going to get
Well, I've seen
misinterpreted later
Yeah,
on.
well, I've seen the figures that a half-cent sales tax on a normal family is $10 for the year. So, you know, that's not big. And you always have the argument that the non-residents in Flagler County are going to pay as much as 30% of the bill on the half-cent sales tax.
Right.
So to me, it's an elegant solution without raising taxes, and I qualify that, and to get this done. And really, the key is it's not for the main construction. I mean, it does help fund that, but it helps with the ongoing maintenance of the beach. And Kim, I don't understand why it's immaterial what other counties are doing. The Flagler Beach has to be able to maintain, if we don't do something, then every year, as we will have to do every year, they're going to have to maintain the beach, and they don't have the money to do that. If we don't take control of the whole 18 miles and get this funding plan in place, then the incorporated Beverly Beach, Marineland, Flagler Beach, that's who's going to suffer. And this is a very, Heidi's solution is, I mean, I just give her so much credit because it is very elegant. It solves the problem without raising taxes. And again, caveat without raising taxes, because if you look at the impact of a half-cent sales tax, it's your word, de minimis, I think is a word, I'd never heard that before, but I'll use it. De minimis. It's immaterial. The normal family out here is not going to feel that at all.
Let me say a couple points first. In defense of Kim, she's pointing out how the variety of the different renourishments are from one coastal county to the next. So we're utilizing the best data we have for Flagler, but the fact is it ranges drastically from Nassau down to West Palm Beach. For what reason? I mean, the scientists are determining it based on some modeling, and I know, yeah, right. So,
Seabed.
So it's I know the revision, which brought it a much more frequent interval, which pushes the seabed, the sand, back further out for the protection and for Mother Nature to do its thing over time. But I think, Commissioner Hanson, it's dangerous for us to speak in regards to the effect of the sales tax on everybody. I think we need to be careful of saying that it's minimal because everybody's situation is different.
Well, you buy a new car, you're up to a certain limit, it's going to cost.
But even $10, $15, $50 a year is impactful depending on certain people. So I just want to make sure we're cautious that we don't overstate the elegance, as you stated. I don't know that you were worried about sedentary. I have problems with elegant.
Well, if we don't do that, and then so what do? We add a whole full penny or we go from 8 point something to 9 point something?
I think when we come back,
because we're going to do this.
I think when we come back, we will look at the options that are available for us, and I think we will come to solutions that will, based on what I'm hearing, everybody sees the need to protect the beach. So within the next month and a half, we're going to get to a point where we're going to figure that out.
And Chair, for the two new commissioners, I think it'd behoove them to see the stormwater plan that we have unfunded in the West and the rest of the unincorporated county. Because the last time I spoke with some staff about that, they were just told not to address the stormwater funding. It's gone away. So we have that sitting out, that monstrosity. And the St. John's is filling and it's backing more. It's everywhere. I mean, the issues with flooding are everywhere. And it's another thing that looms over us. So when we commit this kind of funding, such a large project, we still have residents experiencing flooding with a plan that's not funded as well. So it's another another thing to deal with.
And if I'm not mistaken, a half a cent becomes a cent. It rolls up. So it's not a half a penny.
No.
It's not a whole cent.
No. No, it's a fraction. We've got to the point where we can calculate a half cent. It's
Okay. Well, I've been told it's a full cent, so I'm just asking. I just don't see us taxing any more than we already have. Prices of housing, affordable housing is near impossible. People are suffering terribly that don't have some elderly people are on $600 and $700 a month to live. This is. I don't even know that they'd have enough gas to get to the beach. So I really and I'm not saying everybody has the opportunity to use the beach, but not everybody has the money to do it. And I've heard from a lot of people that it will hurt them. And that's what they've told me. So I'm not really interested in raising taxes per se, but I'm sure there's other ways of finding it somewhere, someplace, through some other we've got $500,000 kitchen. I see these projects and I see these money and I'm not saying everything's bad about the money, but come on. This
We've
is
got
real
that
money.
I mean, let's not mix things
I'm
to
not
make
saying
a
that.
point.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying when they hear that, why do they want a half a penny from me? That's what I'm saying.
But that's your job to clarify where that's coming from.
Okay, I'll do my job then, Andy. I'll do my job. I'll do my job. I'll just
it's
tell
different
them,
buckets.
you'll have to pay for it if that's what it is. But, the beach has to happen, and that's going to go over really well for people that I speak to every day, because I do speak to people every day. But I'm going to leave it at that. I'll let my angst go quiet.
And my only point with the Army Corps, the 11-year, whatever the modeling used, I don't know what Olson used for modeling. I don't know what studies they did. I'm open to understanding or learning what the model is for 6 years. It was just a way to stretch out the possibility of stretching out the funding to give it a more palatable number. We don't know what the number is. What if we have to bond tomorrow $50 million? I'm not saying it's that we're not going to do it. What I'm saying is I'd like to see other approaches on how we can get it done.
And Commissioner Richardson, I'm not downplaying the impact of a half penny. I'm just saying that there is the opposite side of that is the economic impact to the county and to the community from having that plan and ensuring the viability of the beach, which could be the same person sustaining their job and their future employment, potentially based on what happens with the beach as well.
I didn't say that the plan should not be stopped. I didn't say anything about the plan. I'm talking about a half-cent sales tax. That's it.
Right.
Just period. That's all I discussed. So it's not about that.
Okay. All right.
That's another thing. I met with Jay Gardner about the working number for our budget for this year. We haven't even stepped into that realm. There is something to be said for if you pay for it, you own it. I mean, what if Palm Coast comes back and says, oh, this is great revenue for us. I would like to change that up a little bit. If we control it, we pay for it, we control it. I want to be able to see some numbers outside of the half-cent sales tax that can get this more palatable.
Okay.
I just wanted to clarify something, or at least clear the air. Administration has not told anybody to cancel working on projects because we don't have funding established for stormwater. We brought back.
That was what was told to me by staff.
And
I'll tell you another thing, because this board probably doesn't know it. I stood on the corner at 305 and 302, and I asked for at the time, it was 6 street signs to be replaced that are completely faded and gone. No one can see the street they live on. And I was told we had no funding for that. We had no money for that. We had no staff that could be committed to doing that. Thankfully, Jorge worked with me to try to get it done, but that was literally told we didn't have money for street signs. And I said, it is so hard to pass a half-cent sales tax and ask for more money when you can't dedicate the money that you have now to the basic needs of the community. People want to see street signs. They want to see potholes fixed. They want to, you can't go back and go, well, I can't get you that, but can I have some more money, please, for this? It's impossible, at least in my district, to push a large plan. I'm not saying that this doesn't need to be done. I'm not saying that we're not going to do it. I'm just saying when you go out for an additional tax above and beyond while you're sitting there and going, let me email you for 2 years later and tell you I still can't get you those street signs because we don't have any money. And that's literally what I was told by staff. Hamid was with me and he said it.
I would
And
appreciate.
luckily, Jorge, I did get with Jorge. I think you were out of office or something. Or somebody got with him because I said, that can't be the answer. That cannot be the answer because we have bigger problems if we can't afford street signs. So, and that's the frustration. So it's difficult to pass a half penny and when you're out west and trying to explain to them why they can't have anything. Not, and the swing sets are rusted and their kids, I get those emails too. So it's difficult. It's like, I'm sorry, and we'll just keep trying, and they think they're passed along. So that's where I come from on the half penny, and then knowing we have that stormwater plan to look at. And that's the only thing. I don't disagree about the beach. I want to get there for you. I want to get there for the beach, and I want to get there. That's why I said if we got to start just saying, all right, we can commit and we can do Reach 1 now. And let's keep going. Next month, we'll talk about how we do Reach 2. Because I think we have some big projects, hopefully, that will go through soon and change the dynamics of commercial. I hope. And the TDC funding and everything else. I hope those go through. So that's where I'm just hesitant on the penny. But I've been said that since day one, so I don't want to change or influence anybody's decision about the beach and how to get there with funding. That's just where I'm at. Sorry.
All right. Very good. Thank you, everybody, for your discussion. It's helpful, but we got to move this along to a point. So we need as much feedback, we need as much information, insight as we can. And this is the only time we get to do it together. Kumbaya. All right. I think we've covered everything.
Move we adjourn.
I did. Yep. All right. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, sir.